Right. Well, I mean, like they're freaking zombies, right? Like the PCs are losing to zombies on a regular basis on that show. Like, you guys can't handle like a challenge one monster. What are we doing?
You have to headshot them, right? You can't just.
And they have modern weapons too. So.
Yeah, and they fail with those too. The only one who's any good is the person with the sword. Everyone else on that show is terrible.
Stormtroopers would be better.
No, they don't hit anything.
Well, at least it's stormtroopers who hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah.
Can't hit my belt.
Anyone online? Can you hear me? Always got to make that check.
Amy, what's the pooch?
I don't see it up yet.
What's behind me?
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Well, there's Amy and then our other Amy, right?
Amy and Anna.
I'm sorry, Anna. What's the pooch there?
Oh, that's Minnie. That's my familiar, or like my little follower. She's an 18-year-old Chihuahua Terrier. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
yeah,
she's
your
blind
volume's
and
up,
deaf,
Jay.
but she's very.
It's
very
up high?
I can hear it.
And she's used
Okay,
to
all right.
bright
On
bird
Twitch, I
to
just want to make sure.
stay quiet. So on during streams. Yeah.
Oh, look, Streamlabs works too. That's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just goes. Hey DM, what's going on? That could be to anyone, but his name's DM 221532.
Yeah.
By the way, I did, and I sent a request to Reaper. I said I need a new. This is 14 to 16 months old. I need a new.
Have they?
I sent over the weekend, and they tend to not respond on the weekend. But
they're
plus I had some other things I asked of them for shouting out the con.
I must admit, I do 3D printing almost all the time now, rather than buying from Reaper.
I'm sorry.
Almost all the time, I buy 3D printed miniatures off Etsy now instead of Reaper.
Reaper's a great company, though. They sponsor us, and we are heavy into 3D printing, but for terrain and for specialty items like dungeon dressing a lot too. But Reaper's a tie-in to the. There's an entire crafting community on Twitch, and they're really tied into the crafting community. So we get a lot of crafters here. It's like trying to be the bridge between crafters and the D&D players, which is kind of cool. But hey, yeah, I mean, I can understand. There's a lot of good 3D print companies out there too.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's just in terms of selection and size. Like every time there's an edition change, they change the size of monsters. So the old Reaper bones and shit just don't work anymore. Well, now I can't use that, so I need something that's a size bigger or a size smaller, and it's just more convenient to get a 3D print.
He doesn't change editions. He stays.
Yeah, what I don't understand what an edition change means.
Yeah.
Although Anna says I have my own edition, so.
Well, you kind of have it. Yeah, you kind of have it. You have a heavy house ruled 1E, 2E, so it's effectively your own private 3E.
One of these days, Jay's actually going to print that stuff up.
Yeah.
And not get I'm lucky I'm not getting sued by WotC for this con.
Just
That's
give it
how
away,
we've
Jay.
felt for the last 5
give it
years.
away. Yeah, PDF and give it away.
A lot of painters XL, exactly XL. I mean, we got a ton of crafters on Watch Us. Plus, we got the great Mike Disney. Now, this is one of my sponsors, Gamescape 3D. Their stuff is unbelievable. This is all 3D prints. We have that system of roads out on our table already. We use it's fantastic, really cool stuff. So.
Yeah, I've got those.
Oh, you got those? I sent them to you.
Plans that you sent me, and I'm still working on getting my sister's printer set up, but I'm really looking forward to getting those printed out.
Yeah, there's one in this road system they don't even show. It's called the King's Road. It's all cobblestone. We printed out like 15 of those. I mean, each of those takes between 9 and 14 hours to print each piece. So so it's taking time. I mean, we got an Ender 5, and then Bill's got to paint them up and do all that other stuff to it. So But you get there. You get there with it's just
We
time.
We
Time.
run so many adventures that happen in a marsh of one kind or another. Like, wow, that would look really nice. You can
Yeah,
just
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
like half a keel into swamp. It's like Jersey.
Yep. Sandwich in the run.
That wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah. So, do we have any other Jersey people here?
Hey,
Jay, where in Jersey are you?
Lawrenceville.
Oh, so you're near Trenton.
Yeah, I'm right near Trenton. Yeah. Yeah, I know, I'm not that far from you.
Yeah.
You're in Gloucester County?
Gloucester County, yeah. I'm right near the Commodore Barry Bridge. So,
Okay.
So
Yeah.
is Dave not able to make it?
I'm sorry?
I thought Dave Gary was.
Did,
Yeah, I'm
did
here.
you?
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm just quiet. That's you free off.
Your name tag wasn't showing every time you were talking. No, there it is. It's very, very tiny. Okay.
Yes, we got everyone is showed, and except for the wild card of each night, the Leonard Lakofka.
Yeah.
So, but he'll, so.
I wanted to show off and say that I bought the Assassin's Knot on eBay. Just won it yesterday.
Oh,
Finally.
cool.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's Len will be showing up.
Sitting here somewhere.
Yeah, I've been trying to collect all the Greyhawk 1E, 2E Greyhawk stuff for a long time, but I am not going to go into a bidding frenzy on
No. Plus
I
with
just-
plus now when you can get the printed, I know you want the
You
originals.
can buy PDFs, but yeah.
I know, and you can print a lot of them on DM's Guild. So, all right, we're gonna come on like probably 2 minutes early tonight. We only come on 1 minute early. So, good evening, everyone. How are yes? I just said something to someone who texted me.
Ah,
That was Tim. So our 6 DMs roundtable. This is our 111th Gabbin. So we average one almost about every 20 episodes. Haven't done one in a little while though, and got a lot of virtual Greyhawk Con DMs tonight for everyone. So get your questions ready.
Seems like it was a while ago. I tell you what, Jay, you should probably get the. I think I told you this. The Marklands and the Greyhawk box set. You can get both of those printed off at DM's Guild.
Yeah, I know. Cause here's
As
my
much
one.
as-
Oh, you can't see me right now.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This way you can use those as your copies to use and keep the other stuff.
I got two from the Ashes box sets. This one, the one I utilize, is in like 30 pieces. I mean, it just fell apart. The Free City Greyhawk box set held up a lot better. So
I've got some duplicates, and I picked up a lot of Greyhawk stuff that I didn't have on eBay like 20 years ago, but people were selling their gaming collections in these huge lots.
yep.
Guilty.
I would buy up just tons and tons of gaming material and spend maybe $100 on all of it.
Yeah.
And I would go through it and keep the stuff that I wanted, and the stuff I didn't want I put back on eBay and
Busy but well, Frank. I understand that, man. It's like going crazy here. This is gonna be a busy week. I took off from real work Thursday and Friday just so I can make sure that I got all my ducks in a row. Here we come on tonight. So
I took off Thursday, Friday, and Monday.
Nice. You
This
got
way you can
recovery time.
Yeah, exactly. Got recovery time.
That is awesome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Gabbin Lord Peak Haven, another special DMs Roundtable discussion that we have almost like roughly every 20 episodes. I'm Jay, aka Lord Gazumba. I got a lot of fantastic people contributing this evening, and they all have one thing in common: they're all participating in Virtual Greyhawk Con. So we wanted to welcome everyone. And first off, let me say welcome. We have Amy Crittenden, who's Thala on Discord. We have Anna Meyer. And then from Greyhawk Reborn, we have Dave Guerreri. We have John Lent. We have Jay Stupinski. Welcome all to you. And then, Renee, you are a Niron Triad, correct?
correct.
Excellent. And then William Henry Dvorak, Giant Stomp / Wicked Studios LLC, who's been in all 5 previous. So he's got to keep the streak going for 6.
That's the only reason I'm here.
So Leonard may hop on. We don't know. Haven't heard from Leonard. He did send us an email today, and it's in the scroller. And then the ever mysterious Tim will hop on at some point tonight as well. So welcome, and we'll get this going here. And I'm just going to go around to make it easy. I always ask the same kind of similar first question to everyone, and that is two things. Give us a little background on. Look at that. Here he comes. Speak of the devil. He's going to go, oh my God, watch the look on his face when he sees all these people. Leonard!
Scare myself.
Leonard,
Hey, Len.
time for a DM's Roundtable. How are you?
Oh, I think I'm coming down with a cold on top of everything else.
Oh,
And I just sent you a email on the deck of many things judging.
oh. Yeah, I got you. Right? I got your
email
Beltar one up.
seconds ago.
Oh, okay. If I get a chance during the discussion, I'll open it up and see if I can get to talking about it as well and get that in. So let me see if I can do that, Len. And thanks for hopping on. And Tim will be on a little bit later as well. So, what's your background? How'd you get into gaming? Years. What do you play? What style? And then, Amy, who's your main inspiration for your DMing? So, why don't you
asking me?
No, I'm going to ask you last.
Well, that's easy. Gary Gygax used to work in Chicago in an insurance company, and he was the vice president of the International Federation of Wargaming, which seemed more reasonable than the crazy Avalon Hill groups that they were named after Nazis. They were war groups that went from place to place. They claimed they had won hundreds of games, and the play-by-mail system had only been out for a few months. It was just all bullshit. So I said, well, let me join that. And it turned out somebody in Chicago, his name was Terry Stafford, introduced me to Gary, and the rest is history.
Well, that's easy enough. I mean, that's great inspiration. I mean, you can't get any better than Gary himself.
Yeah.
So, fantastic, Len. Fantastic. But I know we're going to have a couple questions for you shortly, too. And I really appreciate you hopping on tonight, even with the cold. So, hang in there. Amy, go for it. What do you got?
So, I started playing when I was 14 years old. My parents gave me the Holmes box set for Christmas. And I'm going to go ahead and date myself. It was 1979. I mean, had not been out all that long. The owner of the privately owned bookstore that we went to every weekend, told my parents that they thought that I would like it, and I ended up falling in love with it. I got my brother involved, got a friend of his involved, and the following summer we gamed every day, Monday through Friday. And got a full campaign done in about 3 months before school started again, and things kind of went from there. I started other groups after that, played all through college. Initially I played just first edition AD&D. Started in Greyhawk, moved to my own homebrew setting. Went back to Greyhawk later. Later on, I we moved on to other role-playing games, and right now the system I play is Hero System 5th Edition, which some people know better as Champions. It's a superhero game, but it can be used for any genre. And when I run fantasy, I run Greyhawk in Hero 5th Edition because that's just what I truly love.
Cool. How about inspiration?
I was 14 and had very little access to really anybody to get any inspiration from initially. So it was really the school of hard knocks, learning what worked, what didn't work the hard way. Later on, I have a very close friend. His name is Greg Smith, and he's a graphic artist. He did some artwork for Hero Games, Iron Crown Enterprises, and some other gaming companies back in the 90s. I joined his group. And he has a very storytelling style to what he does. Very much, he believes that the story should fit the characters. You should not be writing an adventure that you can plug any character into. The story should revolve around the people who are playing it. It should be their story. And I really like that idea. And so that's how I try to run. Even if I'm running a one shot with people that I may not know very well, I try to make the story of the adventure about their characters and about what they're doing, so they have a personal connection to it.
Amy, awesome. Thanks for that. And Amy's got two events she's running. They're both the Fountain, right? You're going to run that twice. Is the first one sold out, or has it got one seat open?
It was sold out last I checked, unless somebody dropped out.
Okay, I'm not. Yeah, and then okay, so at least you got one completely full, and then we got a second one that we're trying to get filled. And I want everyone to meet a lot of the DMs here, and hopefully you'll be interested and sign up for some games. Plus, I got a little surprise for everyone as the show goes on. Dave, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's always good to be had, as I always say. Started playing in summer of '80. A friend of mine came back from college and said, "Hey, I got this great game I found out of college," and just started playing there and joined with a whole bunch of other folks and just was playing with them for a long time. And some other groups kind of fell apart, and a wonderful gentleman who set us up with, "Hey, they got this new thing coming out in 2000. It's called Living Greyhawk. It's really easy to get into games." And just got into there and just absolutely loved it. I think the second table I ran that I got to play at had the luck of having Eric Menge as a DM for one of his classic mods.
Oh, awesome.
And just sucked me in big time. Got a lot of experience from there. Played every edition of the game, everything from 1 through 5. I've been in Greyhawk for pretty much all of my gaming career. Why go anywhere else? It's kind of the way I look at it.
Yep.
Really what I look for inspiration is really so many of those wonderful Living Greyhawk DMs and players. You just had, dozens and dozens of exceptional play experiences, terrific players, great DMs. Again, Eric Menge, Sean Merwin, so many folks I had wonderful opportunities to sit down and play. You try to pick something up that off of all of them, whether it's a DM or a player, and just learn so much from so many wonderful people. And again, guys like Jay and John here with me, and I know, Renee was heavily involved. Ended up on the Keelan Triad for about the last 4 years of the campaign. And then we started, got tired of not gaming and 4 edition and no living campaign. So, hey, let's come up with Greyhawk Reborn. And we did. We've been doing that for 7 years now in 5th edition.
That's fantastic. I'll tell you this. Eric played in my game last Saturday with Anna and all the other triads from Geoff. Man, that was a blast. He played especially Priestess of Mayheen, and he rocked it. So it was a really cool. I can't wait to have them back again. Definitely. But it's good to hear that there's like a lot of crossing over between the triads, and the groups, and that you all seem to be all know each other. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get everyone back together. Plus, we have Perrinland and Rotic on Wednesday night. So we're going to so we'll get we'll hear some more triad stories. Jay, thank you for coming on. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
It's a real honor to be here. So I got my first basic set when I was about 10 years old in 1980, and I've kind of been an addict, a D&D addict since. Took a brief hiatus from gaming in my 20s, but I got back to when Living Greyhawk came out. It's something I really wanted to try. I was in a home game at the time. With a couple of guys up in Maplewood, New Jersey, and we all decided to try LG, and it just really got us going again. For a little while, I was the special missions coordinator for several years for Keelan, so I got to oversee a lot of basically one-shot missions for characters, so they do special things. So that kind of goes made Living Greyhawk a little bit of what like Amy does in her games, as she said. You make it special for the players with these special missions that are tailored to some goal that player has for his or her character. Inspirations, one of the best teams I ever had with Sean Merwin. Present company accepted. I would say Sean Merwin ran a great interactive. We drove all the way up to Erie for this ErieCon back in.
That's a haul.
I want to say 2001 or 2002. But Sean had put together this great interactive, and with one of the things that's kind of famous in Keela, they stole these eyes from children, and you had to go into the Rushmore to try and find the eyes, and it was pretty gross, but it was a lot of fun. And then I have a lot of authors that inspire me. Everybody from Lloyd Alexander to Michael Moorcock, and to the typical, J.R.R. Tolkien. It's just all those people are very inspirational.
Very cool. I'm glad to see that you crossed paths with Sean. I guess because and Judy as well.
Yeah, Judy was on Keel and Tribe for a while, and Judy has sort of.
And Jose. Did you do Jose Ortiz as well?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Judy and Jose playing as well, and they're just great people. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So,
Jose's a tremendous artist.
Oh, it's unbelievable the work he's done. He did an art piece for his character, which I'll pop it up as we're going. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. He just sketched that up. So, Jay, thanks for that. Really appreciate that background. Renee, welcome.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me. I see I'm, at least on my screen, I'm the middle square.
Yeah, you are.
Going to be as entertaining as the other ones. Let's see. For me, I had a neighbor who said, "Come on, we're going to go over to a friend's house and play a game." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And it ended up being the Red Box, and I was immediately hooked. Just the whole fantasy of it, and we played just a couple of times. Then I got a couple of my other friends involved. This is in junior high. But then as soon as you hit high school, they had other interests, and we played from time to time. Not too often, though. It went from homebrew to I couldn't really do that anymore. So we would buy the published adventures. None of them wanted to DM, so I ended up being the main person to run every game. And I don't do voices very well, and I just remember hysterical laughters when I would try to make some kind of NPC voice. So then by that time, we're hitting the end of my high school, and second edition was coming out, and life has other things happen. So I missed all of second edition, and I do remember driving down the street. Kids are a little bit older by this time, hitting 2000, and I had a rare moment of I have time to myself. So I just remember driving down one street, living in Arizona by this time, and I saw a comic book shop that I hadn't been in once since I think 88, 89, somewhere there. It's like, oh, let's see what's going on with Batman. I walk in there and I see sitting on the shelf this book, Living Greyhawk. I'm like, oh, I remember that. Opened it up and got hooked right back in. So fantastic. I did 3.5. I did not do 4th edition, and I went over to Pathfinder, and then now I'm back with 5th edition D&D, but splitting time between Pathfinder with friends who only do Pathfinder, and others who, on the organized play side, do the Adventures League 5th edition. But for me, the same thing with Amy, that I try to find the story first and try to get an investment from the players. During Living Greyhawk, there was some very good scenarios written, but then there were some that were not very good at all. But what I learned there is you just have to dig into the story. There's a story in there somewhere, and you have the players buy into that intro on what it means to them, and then you just go on cruise control and let them take over. And I remember being at Gen Con where there was one mod that could be played in an hour and a half, but I just hooked the players into their own backgrounds and things, and they were having a blast for 4 hours, and I really didn't. And that just, it's a story that comes out of it. For influence, didn't have too much. Before streaming and everything, you at cons and other things, you really don't get a chance to observe anybody else running, so you just learn your own style. But now with streams out, I do look at many others and see what they do, and I try to pick up. I've seen where, okay, I'm not doing that pretty well, and explaining to get the visual very well. Sometimes I I didn't get that. So I'm getting better on doing that kind of stuff, where a person is really, hopefully, really immersed in the beginning, and then can just get right into it.
Renee, I linked into chat your Sunday and Friday game. Your Sunday game, we're up to 2. That's good, but we got 3 open
It's
spots
something.
still. Yeah, so we're getting there.
It's something. Actually, to bring that up, if I could talk about that right now, one of the I know with organized play, and I'm speaking organized play, you only have 4 hours for the most part to really get them. And usually there's something going on, so you're starting 15 or 20 minutes late already into the slot. And I know with that format, you really need to get them going. They need to know what they have to do, and because you have a time to end. But one thing I tried, and that's why I picked out these particular ones, is I like the organic style of getting into the call to action. Not just say you're in a tavern, somebody comes in, I need you. You're walking down the street, hey, you come over here, I need you. I know that's necessary with organized play, but for these two, I picked them out because it has a very organic way of getting into it. It begins very casual, and hopefully they do catch on to what's happening. The example I give, and it'd probably be a bad one, is Lord of the Rings, where you have Frodo having the party, having this, and Frodo does not get that call to action until Gandalf says, the ring can't stay here. Well, what must I do? And you're already how much into the movie? 30 minutes, 45 minutes? I don't know how long. But it was a very organic way of getting into that. Now the adventure starts. So hopefully the two that I have there get that for people.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and participating in this. We're gonna have a blast answering some questions, and hopefully have a couple laughs too. So along the way, maybe asking some silly questions as well. And I think it's good to get everyone together and let them meet everyone ahead of time. And hopefully, I'm happy with where we are, but I want to be happier because we're up to 207 registrations.
Wow.
So I thought like if I get 125, I mean that would be great. But we're up to like 207. So. Sit tight and let's enjoy this discussion. John, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us. So let me see. How did I start playing D&D? I guess I'm the youngest in my family, and my older brother, who's about 11 years older than I was, left me a giant pile of stuff, which is all of his first edition D&D stuff. And I thought I wanted to be cool like my older brother, so I started reading all that stuff. But I didn't have any friends who knew what it was or were willing to play yet. And then, but around the time we started high school, we, some of my other friends found the same stuff at the same time. And we all just started playing with my one friend who ended up being part of our Greyhawk group for years and years and years. And we played mostly Dragonlance back then because all of us were into the Legends and the Chronicles books. We thought it was the coolest stuff ever. And I had a subscription to Dragon Magazine and to Dungeon Magazine when I was a little kid. And they had this advertisement in there where you could get this ridiculous bundle of Forgotten Realms stuff. Like it was, the Forgotten Realms Adventures book, and then they had box sets, and it was a really ridiculous amount of gaming material. And as soon as I got it, it was the first time I ever really understood that there were lots of different settings for Dungeons and Dragons. It just never occurred to me. I've been playing Dragonlance exclusively, and I'm like, oh wow, look at all this other amazing material that I've never seen before. And then tried to drag my friends kicking and screaming into a new world to try it out. And it was very much a challenge back in high school. But I didn't really get into Greyhawk until I was in college. I went to my first Gen Con in 1997, and it was amazing. It blew me away. I had never seen anything like that. It's a place where thousands of people just like me are all gathering together and playing so many different kinds of games. And I saw what dungeon mastering was really supposed to be like. This was a time before the internet. We didn't have the ability to go and watch.
True.
Like what a really invested Dungeons and Dragons groups looks like. It just, how do me and my friends do this was the only experience we had. So seeing it at Gen Con was just incredible. And that really was an inspiration for me for, how I DM going forward. We used to play in the, after that we'd go almost every year, and we'd play in the D&D Open Championships.
Yeah.
Which is like a 3-round competitive thing. And that was just tons of fun. You got to see some of the best players, some of the best dungeon masters with just, amazing role-playing talent. And then Living Greyhawk came along shortly after that. and I got to play with some amazing dungeon masters. Just going to conventions, all the time back then. I mean, it was. I feel like we went to at least 2 a month for 5 years back when Living Greyhawk first started. It was crazy.
We hear
And
the stories on the shows. Unbelievable how many people were at those events. It's crazy.
oh, it was nuts.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I mean,
Travel,
I mean, and so Sean Marvin was mentioned. He was one of my favorite DMs. I had the pleasure of playing with David Quick and Sholem West both, and they're both Cthulhu Dungeon Masters. And so they gave me a whole introduction into how to terrify your players.
That explains a lot.
Oh yeah. Those two, man, there was an organized play Cthulhu game going for a while, where your dungeon master would have a secret envelope that you never looked in, and it was sealed at the end of every adventure, and you'd hand it to your next dungeon master, so you wouldn't even know the things that were happening to your character. It was pretty incredible. And then two of my other favorite DMs were David Crist and Jason Baldwin. And awesome. They sort of have a reputation for bloodthirstiness, which I think I probably inherited as well. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I when I go to Gen Con now, I try to run the D&D Open whenever it's available, and I really enjoy that. Working with a bunch of players who really know all of the ins and outs of their character, and who are just trying to be as effective as humanly possible. And it's really fun. And one of my favorite things about public DMing as opposed to just playing with your friends, when you're at a convention with strangers you've never met before, everybody's laughing and having a good time. You kill 3 of their characters in a 4-hour session, and they say, "I had so much fun, I want to come back," even though you just killed their characters. Like that's an amazing compliment. That they enjoyed dying enough that they'll come back again. That's something else. So yeah,
very cool.
That's me.
Quick show of hands. Who's going to try to go to GaryCon?
Where is it?
Lake Geneva, Wisconsin in March. And in March. I
I'll
already got my
try,
ticket.
But I'm not. Yeah, I hold up a finger because.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's a few thousand miles away from me, so I don't think I'm.
Yeah. Understood, Renee.
Well, that's still when is that again?
It's last weekend in March.
In March.
March.
Yeah.
See, I wanted to say February, and I knew that was wrong.
It's last week.
Yeah,
all right, Bishop.
scheduled
Cool.
to run
Man,
games
and
in England.
I love.
Yeah, sorry.
I love Lake Geneva, but March, it's like still
plus,
7 feet of snow on the ground out there, right?
Yeah, plus with all the COVID.
No, it can be freezing and cold at times. Yeah.
I was just curious because I know that the tickets are for sale already, and I already got mine from DMing during the virtual part. So I just was curious. All right, now I'm gonna get Will and Anna involved on this one because I know I've asked this one to them a bunch of times, but let's have them. We'll start with Len, and then we'll go from Will all the way around. So here we go, Leonard. Oh, this is going to be a terrible question for Leonard. He's going to go, there is none. All right. What is your favorite campaign setting outside of Greyhawk? And then what's your favorite published module of all time?
Well, I've always played World of Greyhawk, although I've taken people off the planet and moved them to other places.
Okay.
I've done that a few times. I sent them to a place where dwarves were slaves, and the dwarf was the 9th level high priest at that point, and was going to come there to help give the dwarves a better world to live in. And this guy says, "You let your dwarf talk?" And he comes over and he gets ready to slap him, and got a great deal of surprise when the hammer hit him in the side of the head. So basically, though, I've done World of Greyhawk, and I've certainly taken people off the planet. I've certainly taken them around the World of Greyhawk. Moved them into different places. But as for module, I don't know.
Come on.
I hear the Assassin's Net's pretty good.
I liked Ravenloft and off.
Yes, you do. You love Ravenloft.
Liked the illustrations, the way they did the multi-layered things. I thought that was innovative and interesting. We all did the Giant series, which was all right, but it was one of the first things that came out. But I suppose I'd say Ravenloft, because I haven't bought
Right.
40 or 50 modules by any stretch of the imagination.
Good question. And he's humble. He didn't say Bone Hill or Assassin's Knot or Deep Dwarven Delve. So that was very nice of him. So, but we've had people say the Assassin's Knot multiple times on here, and Bone Hill. So, Will, go ahead. I know I've asked you this multiple times, but
That's okay. There's new people here who
Yes!
haven't heard me. Eberron is actually my second favorite campaign model.
Okay.
And White Plume is
Yes.
my favorite. Yeah.
yes, the original, not the return, right?
Yeah, the original, strictly for nostalgic reasons. There's, not to say that Schick didn't write a good module, but I'm sure there's stuff that's more in depth out there. But I just like White Plume. I like this, all the traps. The traps is what got me. I think they're just so awesome. The swings, the mud, all that different stuff. That's good stuff.
Awesome. Renee, how about you? Outside of Greyhawk and favorite.
Outside of Greyhawk would be the same Eberron.
Okay.
Since I skipped second edition, I think I skipped Forgotten Realms. So for me, it's Eberron, but Greyhawk, nothing can replace Greyhawk. And favorite module, for nostalgic reasons, it's the basic, the one that comes with In Search of the Unknown.
B1. Okay.
Yeah, only because I remember being that small and opening it up and just having this world come out that you really weren't aware of at the time. Everything else is great. As you were mentioning the other ones, I do remember running the Giants one, White Plume, and one of them had these crazy things in there. It might have been UK1, maybe.
The Sentinel and the Gauntlet. No, UK1's Beyond the Crystal Cave.
Yeah, just these very strange things going. I do remember running those, but nothing replaced that feeling that I got opening B1 for the first time.
B1, you had to assign the monsters to the rooms too.
Mm.
It was a little different twist. It had a Judges Guild feel to it, So cool. Yeah. John, how about you? John, you are muted.
Try and unmute.
There you go.
There we go. So I don't know. I love all the different Dungeons and Dragons worlds so much. I think that they all have great things to be said for them. Outside of the D&D setting, I would say Delta Green by a wide margin, which is the modern Call of Cthulhu world. But man, I've enjoyed pretty much every world that I've played D&D in. They're all very enjoyable. They're just different. And then published modules, I probably have to say the Rod of Seven Parts is my favorite.
Wow, that's off the trail on that one. That's a first.
Yeah. I love it. It's straightforward in terms of this is your mission. It doesn't get very it sort of has like a built-in like player hook that you can't avoid, and players in my adventures have a habit of completely derailing adventures given 30 seconds to do so. And I'm like,
you
just can't. Right. You just can't do it. Like, nope. You get the first piece. Now you know where to go for every other part of the adventure, right? Like that's it. And it's got epic bad guys. It's got really interesting challenges. Still to this day, probably my favorite character death of my own was trying to role play as a paladin and rescue people on like a frozen like rock out in the middle of a frozen lake, and I fly down to rescue the NPC that looks trapped, and of course, why is there a person floating in a rock in the middle of a frozen lake? But dumb paladin. So everybody else like, why are you doing that? That's not the mission. I fly down. It's an ogre mage. It wrecks myself and most of the party, and then a Remoraz comes out and eats us. It was just vicious. And we didn't see it coming, and it was just tons of fun. Like anytime you have epic things like that, it really gives the players a chance at the end of the adventure to feel like they did something valuable, and there's not enough opportunities for that.
Very, very cool. I want someone to answer this question. Is Zendrelda the extort, the blue box tower that they kind of put in Saltmarsh a bit? What's the name of that?
Xenopus.
Xenopus, that's it. Tower Xenopus extort is your answer to that question. All right, yeah, there you go. So I wanted to throw that out to you real quick as I saw that in chat. Amy, what do you think? What do you got?
So I think my favorite campaign setting is kind of a homebrew setting that my friend Greg Smith ran for years. Was his Colonial Marines game,
Okay.
based on the Aliens Predator universe, and he liked to throw in a little bit of everything. You know, we threw in a little bit of Stargate SG-1, we threw a little bit of Lost in Space, everything but Star Trek and Star Wars. If it was science fiction, it kind of came into that game, and that was a lot of fun. If you're talking about a published campaign setting, it would be a superhero setting. It'd be the city of San Angelo, which is a Champions setting. My favorite published module would definitely be the original A1 through 4 Slavers series.
Cool.
Was my favorite. That was the first, and I ran this before my brother actually ran the G1 and D series later. So it was the first set of modules that I had that actually had a story arc to it. And my players just loved that idea, the idea that, you know, we play this one adventure, but then there was another adventure that was connected, and the next one, and you make your way to the master villain, kind of like a comic book kind of thing. And we just loved that about that series.
Definitely, and they were all tournament style, but they just worked, and they're still iconic. And I will say this: we have one of our friends is running. I'm going to skip ahead here. Sorry, Frank, I'll go back. Rise Up Against the Slave Lords starts during Virtual Greyhawk Con with Praetor's Rejects, and he has a take on it. That's Jimmy Duffy. It starts, I'll be rating my main game event with Luke Gygax, Eric Mona, Gary Julian into this, and then it's a weekly show after that. So it's going to be a great one there. So the Slave Lords live. You know, we got a lot of fantastic content coming up very shortly. So cool one. All right, now the person who's read more modules than anyone on the planet but has played the least amount, Anna.
Yeah, I guess well, maybe not on the planet, but I'm up there among the
You've
people
read
that
them,
actually
yes.
read a lot of them. So yeah, when it comes to Greyhawk modules, but there is one D&D setting that I never ran games in that intrigued me, because I played in it one campaign. I think it was like 6-7 sessions, and it must have been late 80s, early 90s when it came out, and that's Dark Sun.
Okay.
And that was
Love
one
it.
that intrigued me because it was very, very different from Greyhawk. It was this post-apocalyptic kind of fantasy world. And one of the things that intrigued me when I saw some of the books was that they had landscapes. It was epic, big vistas and stuff like that. And that kind of triggered me. So I've never run any games. I have very few. I think I only have one or two, maybe or module or books from Dark Sun, but the concept was really, really cool. I like the idea, was awesome, and it was the interesting. It was one of my kind of friend of a friend who, and there was the first game he ran, the first campaign, but he did a really, really good job of making it cool, so to speak. And these kind of wizards, sorcerers, priests, kings, whatever they were kind of awesome up there. So that made a good impression. That was a game world that I'm definitely going to look into for inspiration when I delve into other parts of Earth when it comes to landscape and ideas and stuff. So for being different from Greyhawk, I must say that I have a little soft spot for Dark Sun. And I have very little reason. It's just that little exposure I had was enough to trigger something that was kind of fun. So yeah. So if someone forces me to abandon Greyhawk, I would probably look into Dark Sun a little bit. Yeah.
Dark Sun, I love taking inspiration for it when I run adventures in the Sea of Dust.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It just goes right into that very easily.
Yeah.
Very
But
cool.
when it comes to my favorite module, Greyhawk stuff, it must be Hamlet. That's I'm such a sandboxy player that little sandbox kind of made sense to me. It was one of the first adventures I played in. Was one of the first adventures I ran for a group back before I even started playing in Greyhawk. So it was that little village. You can go from house to house and you can interact and things kind of played out. And that was the way I saw that that the game was supposed to be played, and that was back in Sweden. We didn't have anyone else to ask. There was no internet, no books, whatever that was about it. So we were this little thing that have realized that they're playing something over in America, and we have a copy of it, and we can play it here. And that was all we knew. So we just played, and that was it, so to speak. So that was very, very different. So the interesting thing, what gave me inspiration have varied through my gaming career. In the beginning, it was Tolkien, and it was local things, meaning we went and looked at a medieval castle. We looked at old folk things saying that here where the trolls lived, and there was a troll cave that was like it's old myths and ideas, but back in the day say, oh, there were trolls that used to live in that cave. And it was, so we went there and we looked at it and made notes and inspired and folk tales and stuff. That was how it started, so to speak. And old medieval history, meaning I come from Northern Europe and Sweden. So we had things from the medieval times. We had people that had been buried in bogs since the Stone Age and all sorts of weird things. So things like that was the first 10 years. That was the inspiration. Then things started to come in and I became connected to the wider world of role-playing games. So it's changed a lot, so to speak. But those were my initial inspiration, were local and the few fantasy books that I had access to.
I really envy you having access to that, Anna, because I've never been able to get to Europe, and
yeah, you should. Yeah, you should. Yeah, there's some awesome things. Meaning you can go to Toledo in Spain, or you can go to there are places in England and France, and then you have some old medieval hill forts. Where we grew up, we had hill forts that was back from the Bronze Age. They were ruined to 90%, but you could still get the idea what they were about, so to speak, and that's kind of interesting. And the things they've dug up and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff like that. And you can go out in the forest when it's dark and people start talking about trolls and stuff, and you can hear them and see them everywhere. That's a good inspiration. So yeah.
I like what Eddie Izzard said. He said, I'm from Europe. You know where the history is?
Well, when it comes to fantasy-esque history, yeah, that's where, but you could adapt it. That's the cool thing with fantasy, meaning Dark Sun has nothing to do with Europe, but it's still fantastic fantasy.
Well, what's funny when you bring up Amy not visiting Europe. I live in London, but I was able to, well, being here, you see a lot. And I get looks from people when I get all excited to see a castle or to see an old Roman fort. Like, to them, that's just right next door. And I keep telling them, you don't understand. We don't have this in the States. So this is great for me.
Excellent. All right, we kind of jumbled up here, and I think Dave is next on this one, and then Jay. Oh. Yeah, I wanted to say I think there's maybe 3 seats open for all the Greyhawk Reborn events, 15 of them, and there's only like 3 seats left. That's amazing. And I want to say thank you all for participating. It's fantastic. Fantastic effort.
Thanks for inviting us. We're happy to be involved, and like I said, we've been doing this for 7 years now, and finally finding some time to get involved with the greater Greyhawk community, and hopefully, through that we can all share what we're doing and get Greyhawk back to me what it should be, which is out there and one of the main settings that we should be playing in.
Mm-hmm. Going to be a blast, and the community's really stepped up, and congrats to everyone for participating as well. So go ahead, Dave, why don't you answer that question?
Yeah. Probably my second favorite setting is one we're working on now as a sister, if you will, to Greyhawk Reborn. We're working in Midgard.
Anna likes to hear that.
The more I've read about it, the deeper we've delved into it, the more exciting it is to me. There's a familiarity to it. The one thing I always loved about Greyhawk was you knew the feel of every area. You knew what the culture was like, what the people was like, what the economy was like, what the resources were there. And yet you could drop just about anything you wanted into just about any area of Greyhawk. You open up the Waterdeep box set and you find out who's living on 206 Water Street, and you don't have a whole lot of freedom. I feel that very same way. This first setting I've looked at is the Midgard setting. feels the same. I know what's in each area. I can have the flavor and the feel, and yet you can drop just about anything, and it's just a richly detailed world. So we're putting out adventures for them now. Hopefully within a week or so, we'll have some up on Kobold Press as our second living campaign. And hopefully we'll have some more good things following there.
That's great.
Yep. Favorite adventure would be, you guys mentioned so many good ones. I'm going to have to go to Owl of the Ape. And
Wow.
For the very simple reason that it was probably the most fun I've ever had in terms of a long-term campaign. We just had a great group of people at a great time in our lives and a great time in our gaming lives, and we were just howling constantly over all the fun we had and the stupid things that we did as characters. So.
Definitely a great, did Gary have that co-written with someone, if I recall? I know it was that and Morning Kane's Fantastic Adventure were some of his.
I've written it with Rob.
Rob Kuntz?
Rob Kuntz, yeah.
Okay.
I remember reading somewhere, and for the life of me, I can't remember if it was in one of his On the Soapbox articles or in a biography, that Gygax, his players, when he ran Isle of the Ape, they hated it. And they loved Dungeonland and Beyond the Mirror. When those modules were published, fan reaction was opposite. Isle of the Ape ended up being fairly popular, and Dungeonland and Beyond the Mirror not much. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is, small. I take those two with small doses, which is one of the reasons why I like expeditions, because you get to visit just like one small location of each of those, of all those iconic adventures that he did, which was kind of neat. So, good point there. Thanks, Dave, for that. And Jay, finish up this one.
Sure. So my campaigns other than Greyhawk that I would want to shout out to would be Dragonlance. It was one of my first experiences with a character-driven story, which is something we strive to do in our adventures now with Greyhawk Reborn. The characters in Dragonlance was really interesting people, and really, many of them were three-dimensional. So there's that. Also, honorable mention is going to go out to a weird game. I don't know if anybody has heard of Castle Falkenstein.
Oh yeah.
One of the first steampunk settings, which was really interesting to me because you played it with playing cards instead of dice, because dice were for the lower class. And it was kind of like a snooty, upper class crust, campaign setting. Favorite adventures from Greyhawk, probably UK2 and UK3, the Gauntlet and Sentinel. Both really excellent adventures. They kind of inspired me to do some stuff in Greyhawk Reborn with those artifacts later on, and inspired me to write in the Duchy of Berghoff, where we have one of our more popular NPCs in Greyhawk Reborn with Duchess Irma. And but the two adventures just really, I just thought were neat, in that the first one is kind of like a standard quest where you end up with an artifact for a low level epic, and the second one culminates in that battle with the Fire Giant's army besieging the Alderweg Keep, and it's just really neat. I mean, it lets low level characters do something epic, and I thought both those adventures were really neat from that perspective.
I always, when I've run them, they destroy each other at the end, and you're like, but I guess you didn't go that route.
Well, we had Sentinel kind of come back and reform later on, but then it does. They kind of destroy each other, more like a sort of they keep coming back every couple of years, sort of Stormbringer in the Michael Moorcock Elric book. So
very cool. Very, very cool. For me, I've always said it multiple times, Temple of Elemental Evil is my top, and then with Carlos, Shokanth is in my top 3. So love those both. But I haven't played outside of Greyhawk. I guess I said this before. I love Aftermath. That's a that system. Tim DMs that, and you can imagine with Tim DMing that, I should say GMing that, how crazy that gets with Tim. So yeah, I think that's, and I play a little BattleTech too on the side once in a blue moon. So here's another.
I know of that uses more dice than Heroes does, Champions does.
Yeah. Well, Shadowrun's the big one where you roll 30 six-sided dice. In the first day, I was like,
Great
but,
concept, terrible rules.
Yeah. But Aftermath of Critical, it's a 1, a fumble's a 20. So it's like, oh, I crit, and I fumbled because it's in reverse. And so, yeah, it's always that always frustrated me a little bit. But other than that, it's a great game. All right. This one's like a hypothesis. I want to ask Leonard this first because I know Leonard's got about 10 minutes. Leonard, if you could play a D&D game with anyone, past, present, future, who would you pick? And and if why, if you so choose.
Well, actually, as much as I have feelings about Kevin Bloom, he was a good player.
Okay.
I didn't like all of the shenanigans that went on involved in Harry losing the company, and I do hold that against him. But he was a good player. He ran a couple of the challenge things where you would have 8 or 10 or 12 different people, and you'd come up to Lake Geneva, and he would run you through a scenario, and then whoever came in best would be first and second and third and what have you. So I guess Rob Kuntz. Is Rob Kuntz still alive? I guess he is.
Yeah.
Yep.
As far as I know, yep.
Well, I'd like to pick up, the Neistel family, but only 2 of them are alive now. The other 2 have passed on. I enjoyed playing with them a great deal. They were lots of fun. And then my old group on Wednesday night in Chicago was a mixed group of people, but they were very good. And nobody you've ever heard of, but I enjoyed playing with them too.
So while we have Len, and we'll go around the circle in a second after this. Len did another little publication here for us all, and Len, I got Beltar's Cave up. We'll do the winner. How about we do the winner on Wednesday? Does that sound good? We'll do
the winner for which one?
For your Deck of Many Things contest for the tarot deck.
I thought that was done on Friday.
Oh, it's done this upcoming Friday. I'm all confused now.
No, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's done this Friday, but let's talk about the announcement on that on Wednesday. How's that sound? Because I didn't even pull it up. I don't want to crash the stream by pulling up anything else. Sound good? We'll do that on Wednesdays. Yeah. Okay. So tell us about this real quick. Your Beltar's Cave complex that you've done here.
Well, Beltar is not somebody who has any of her places of worship out in the in cities or towns. It's just not her thing. It's they're always run in caves, either natural or mined caves. And so I just drew a quick map of one. And then there's a text that goes along with what you're looking at there.
Yes, and I have that. So,
so I just thought I would do that for the sake of, because that came up last week. Mm-hmm. We were talking about evil gods, and I thought, well, let me do a typical place of where they might be, and what they might do, and how they were set up.
So if you like this, you can always, and you already have Len's email, you can email at Len, or you can whisper me or email me, and I'll get you the attachments, or Len will get you the attachments, just like usual with a Len item like this. It's very nicely done, and you can throw this in, I'd say, between levels 3 and 6, Len? Maybe a little higher than that, 4 and 7?
Oh, I think, yeah, a little higher than that, because you've got quite a group of opponents there.
Yeah.
3rd to 6th level would probably get massacred. There's a wonderful trap right at the beginning of the thing that we won't say what it is. There is a wonderful trap.
Well, we always appreciate your stuff that you bring to us and put in there. And everyone, look at this. I'm already getting whispers. Yes, please. Other material? Question mark. Yes, please. Yes, of course. Antiquitous, no problem. And anyone else who wants it, I would be more than happy to send it out, courtesy of Len. So thank you so very much, Len. Renee, what do we got on this? Who would you want to play with?
Well, I think everyone but Len, because you've played with Gary. Oh, which, by the way, Len, I finally won on eBay Assassin's Knot. Finally.
Got it all too.
Congratulations.
Good grief, as many times as I would get outbid. I remember taking my older son for his high school graduation kind of gift to Gen Con. He was 17 at the time, so it was about 2006. And I saw Gary for the first time, and I had been to maybe, I don't know, 7, 6, 7, 8, 9 Gen Cons by that time. But on his first one, he pulls the trigger on that, and we were walking the exhibition hall, and there is Gary. And he got to take a picture of him,
Awesome.
with him. So that was fantastic. But that would be me. Just when he was so nice when I talked to him, and I don't get flubbed up when I talk to any actors or musicians or something. I don't. I lived in New York in a while, and they're just walking around everywhere pretty much. But with Gary, I got all flubbed up, and he was being nice. He even corrected me on a couple of things I was saying. I didn't know what was coming out of my mouth at the time.
Hey man, awesome story though. You know, I met him at the one in Widener back when I was a kid. One of those, was it Argent's East that was at Widener College back in the early 80s? Or was that Gen Con East? I remember they used to have a West and East, back in the day. And Tim will remember because Tim was there too on that. And it's just like, get to meet him one time and that was it. And, understood. Absolutely. Amy, how about you on this one?
About who I would.
Yeah, who would you like to play with? Or
Well, I would have loved an opportunity to play with like Luke Gygax or Rob Kuntz or Leonard. Just to get a sense of what their game style is like and be able to see it. When I got to watch Luke on one of the live streams that he was involved in, and that was a lot of fun to watch. I think that one of the people that I would love most to play with, though, and he unfortunately passed away a number of years ago, would be Aaron Alston. I actually played with him at Gen Con every year in the late 90s. Great guy. Another one would be Scott Benny.
Great articles.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Scott, I know Scott. I played with him before. I haven't talked to him in years. And he's one of those guys that I would love to be able to reconnect with. Who was it who mentioned Delta Green? Was that Renee? Oh, it was
John.
Okay. So Steve Long wrote a lot of the Delta Green stuff. And he's a friend of mine as well from the Hero crowd. And I played with him and with his Dark Champions setting. And that was, I'd love to be able to play with those guys again.
Excellent. Anna.
Well, now I get a chance to think about it. There's one guy, I actually know him rather well, and the damn thing, I never got a chance to play with him, and he should run a game for me, and that's Wolfgang Bauer. And I realized that, yeah, damn, I want to be in one of his games, and there's been talks about it and whatever, but yeah, I want to be in a Midgard game run by Wolfgang Bauer. That's really, really high on my list, because I've seen enough of him kind of almost running games, talking about it and running samples and talk about his setting and stuff like that. And I just realized that, damn, that's what I want. That's that's really, really high on my list of gaming experiences.
So now
you could probably make that happen, Anna.
Yes, I think I'm one of these few people on the planet that actually have a chance of making that happen. So to speak. So I just need to express my will and get myself a plane ticket to Seattle and or at the convention. But convention, he's so damn busy, and I'm usually busy too. So we have to get that set up somewhere. But I would love to play a game with Wolfgang and Brian and Ben and some of the other people that are top designers on Midgard. That will be a great experience, and what an introduction to a setting that I know quite a bit about, mapped it, but never really played in it. So that is high on my list of things to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
John.
I would have to say, unlike everybody else here who's talking about D&D famous, I would actually love to play with Stephen King, the author.
Cool.
Oh yeah,
He would be
Yeah.
the best dungeon master ever. I mean,
I bet.
to go back to what I was saying before about, the kind of person who could kill your character and you want to come back, he's the guy, right?
Yep.
Like every piece of character development would be so well thought out, and I'm sure at the end of the day we would never see it coming, whatever the bad thing was. Yeah, he would be incredible.
You bring that up just as a quick story. My wife loves those horror movies that I call like the B grade because she just burns through so many of them. She's now at that level. And I asked her certain ones, have you seen these? And Misery was not one of them. And I finally, just a couple of weeks ago, finally got to sit her down and
Oh, gosh.
it was great.
Yeah, I mean, his Dark Tower books are just so sort of classic D&D meets Western. It just makes me think of Paladins of Merlin all the time.
Nothing wrong with that. Love Merlin. Good one. Very good one. Will.
I can't take total credit for this because I'm pretty sure I heard this on a previous DM's roundtable.
That's
But
okay.
Ever after hearing it, it just clicked and made complete sense. I would love to play with Robin Williams.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think that he would have been great because he was
Holy
such a big gamer.
smokes.
And I just think that he's got all the tools to just be a fun player with you. I don't know about running or anything like that, but just
His
in the group.
improv is just, oh my God.
Yeah.
I read something that he actually did play in his youth somewhere.
Oh yeah, he played all the
Okay.
way. He was huge into WoW too. It was like there's
Really? I didn't
there's
know
a
that.
shrine in the WoW world to Robin Williams.
Yeah.
After
Oh,
he
that's
passed.
so cool.
Yeah.
Definitely a good one. Jay. So Len's gone. Len departed. It's 8:26. Len leaves it's okay. He didn't say goodbye tonight, but that's okay. Len's allowed to do that. So we may see the ever mysterious Tim hop on very shortly. So go ahead, Jay. What do you think?
I'm going to say I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall. I heard a story when they were filming Chronicles of Riddick that Vin Diesel got a D&D group together with him and Judi Dench and some of the other actors.
Judi
I would-
Dench. Oh my God.
I mean, can you imagine? So I would love, even though I didn't get to play at the table, just to be a fly on the wall to watch them role play would be something that would probably blow me away.
I like reading his blog. His blog's fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And Dave to finish this one up. Except I'll tell a little story. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Obviously the classics would be, guys like Mr. Gygax, Mr. Arnson, Wolfgang was on my list, and Monty Cook, the guys that have, designed the game that I love. And then, mentioned Robin Williams, that was there. I just think all of the folks that are improv based, like Jonathan Winters, Bill Hartman, Belushi, all the Second City crew and guys like that would just be an absolute blast to have a game with.
Except Chevy Chase. I'm just kidding.
Well, no.
No, you're not.
He's
joking.
not an improv.
You're not
based guy.
joking.
So I'm just looking for the most possible fun to have, and I think that would be a blast. Guys like that, Jim Carrey, folks that are just willing to go anywhere.
You guys
With-
are
with
just jealous because Chevy Chase won D&D.
Exactly.
Right.
With all the ones that you mentioned, Dave, I don't think you'll ever finish a Greyhawk Reborn scenario. You might give the intro, and then 4 hours later, you'll be someplace else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You'll
That's
never
what
do a
happens
story.
anyway. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of part of what Greyhawk Reborn is. I mean, we purposefully try to go where the players want to go, and I speak for John and Jay as well here, but plenty of times we have gone places that we never intended to go because that's where the players took us.
Yeah. And a good DM gets you there. I remember one of my this is Pathfinder, but there was this recurring NPC who gives you these missions assignments, and the way he is, you just hate him. And so it came up and he gave us, and two of us were like, no, we're absolutely not going to do it. No, screw that. We're going the other way. And the DM just rolled with it. And it was one of the funnest ones. And then when it was my turn to run it, it was nothing. He made it all up on sitting there, and it was great.
Yeah, we have oftentimes our players will sit there and play the adventure with one character, then they'll come back 6 months, a year later and sit down and don't have anything else to play. They'll play the same adventure with another character, and they'll be like, wow, that was nothing at all like I expected it to be, because it didn't go the way it did the first time. It was entirely different. It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Always good to see that things can, no matter how much things are planned, that they can just go right off the rails, and especially D&D, that's what's so great about it. That's what, it's tough to be a DM, and some people can't adapt to that, but others can really run with it, and that's what's so cool about the game itself. Now, if you for everyone who does not know, who's new on here, I've known Tim since 1980. Tim's a player in my game. I play in Tim's game. He plays a City State of the Invincible Overlord game, and he's also DMing a major Greyhawk adventure with Carlos and Will and Anna and a couple other people. It's going to be awesome Saturday morning of Virtual Greyhawk Con. So, Tim, who would you like to play with? I'm asking you.
You guys.
There you go.
Best answer ever.
That's the right answer.
You win.
Right there.
Very cool. I always love it, Tim, when your dad comes over and plays too. I know he's getting a little older, but I love it when John is there too. So, and Anna met John that one time last year when Anna was over too. So,
yeah.
That was awesome.
I know he looks like a kindly elderly gentleman, but he's the one who killed my first elf fighter match character.
Yes, he did. And the line that I'm about to put up is John's. Where is my shout out? I can't find it, of course. There it is. You're dead. What do you do next? So there you go. That is Tim's dad's quote that I kind of stole from him. So, all right, for me, I would have loved to play with Carl Sagan. I just wanted to hear him say billions and billions, the way he used to say that. But I'm on a roll lately, getting a lot of people to play. I got Luke and Eric and Myrna playing and all. So I said I'm going to take it one step further. And this is like a little foreshadowing. I've asked a couple, if you call them celebrities, actually playing some games upcoming. And the one I'm talking about now that I want to play, that may play, he's from New Jersey. Okay.
Bruce Springsteen.
No, I swear to God, he's from New Jersey. He plays a drug dealer all the time in a lot of movies, and he's not Silent Bob. So there you go. Oh my God, no one knows.
Oh, really?
Stevie
The
Van
other guy, Jason Mewes.
Yeah, so I'm close to getting Jason Mewes in a game.
Holy smokes.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so sit tight. Yeah, so I'm trying to work it out. So yes, you like that? Yeah. So
Kevin Smith would probably be my least favorite dungeon master of all time. But Jason Mewes, that'd be amazing.
I'm trying. I also have a hook. If you remember Weird Science, Illa Mitchell Smith may come on too. So he's the other guy besides Anthony Michael Hall. So yeah, so I'm working on it. So yeah, he's been a professor for years. He stopped after the Chocolate War, that movie. He stopped acting, but he's on Twitter. We follow each other on Twitter. So yeah, so there you go.
Cool.
Yep, trying. All right. So Will, you're a veteran of this. You got to have a question for everyone.
Where in Greyhawk do you think is the best place to start off a new campaign?
Carlos, we're going to raid into you
for your characters.
Good question. So let's start with Dave Guerreri.
Ooh. First thing that comes to my mind, just from too many years in the Keyland Triad and everything that's out there, is Salt Marsh. There's so much you can use. There's so much down there. You've got land, you've got sea, you've got Evil Woods to the north, you've got swamp, you've got Sahuagin. You've got everything you could possibly want to start down there, from whatever edition you want to and wherever you want to run.
Sea Princes, Scarlet Brotherhood.
Yeah. All the flotsam, jetsam isles down there. There's just so much you can do. Dwarves not far away in Ulik. And
good answer.
That is a good answer.
Jay, how about you?
That's a tough one. I'm going to go with my stock answer here and just say the Duchy of Burghoff. It is a little tiny little duchy that actually is one of the few BC princes, as you all probably know, that didn't condone slavery. But it'd be a good place to start a bunch of PCs on a bunch of local adventures and kind of build up and move from there into the Hold of the Sea Princes, then into the Sheldamar Valley, and just kind of, start a worldwide campaign from that perspective.
Cool. Renee? Nyrond.
I could take that as like the same with you, Jay. You say that you ran in Greyhawk pretty much exclusively in one area, and when people talk about other areas, it's kind of news to you there. So for me, I ran in Nyrond the whole time. But what makes the question hard is what kind of players you have, or what is the DM interested in? Because in Greyhawk, you can go anywhere and get a different game. Are you going to run an elf adventure or only a city one and go into Greyhawk, or the one that Dave said, there's so many things down there. It's really hard. I would have to be selfish and say I would have to choose one that I've always been interested in. That'd be Perrinland, just to research it. And that'd be fun to learn what's there and find something.
Shout out. Wednesday night, Perrinland Rotic Triads on. There you go. On Wednesday nights, on Wednesday night show. On Legends and Lore. So we, find out some information about those locations. That'd be awesome. Amy.
Well, I think you and Anna are going to like my answer. If I was going to start a brand new campaign with brand new players, and this is my stock answer when this question comes up all the time on the DM Academy subreddit. Where should I start my first campaign? What should I run first? And I always say Village of Hamlet every time. For the exact reasons that Anna was talking about earlier. It's a great place to sandbox. It's a great place to, let players get the feel of the community and talk to NPCs before you go to the moat house. And then you've got Verbobonk very close by, all around it, places to explore. You can do pretty much anything. The Gnarly's right there. Divers is not far away. Just so many different directions you can go. So I would start, if I started a brand new campaign with people who never played before, that's what I would use.
And one of our streams, our partner streams, Blue Box RPG, did just that. And I just put that up. John couldn't be on tonight, and they started in my time frame in Hamlet, and it's just rocking right along. It's been fantastic, Osler Gundagoot's 80 years old now, and all that. But it's fun because it's Hamlet. Hamlet's timeless. So great one, Anna.
Yeah, it depends on, like Renee said, it depends on what kind of game you want to do. But if you're into running the old modules and kind of the old stomping grounds, I must say Hamlet is very, very close to it's one of these that it's a great start. The other one would be in that area will be Narvel, I guess, is another one that is a good start that has a little bit of detail. It's also centrally located. You can go to Elvenlands, you can go to Wild Coast, Big City, and it's a little bit between the Greyhawk and Divers. But if you want to flesh out your own campaign, let's say you want to adopt a part of Greyhawk and say that I want to do that, and then I want to run games in that little area, then I can. If you don't want to take all that old information in of all modules, I can recommend Reldevin area and the area around Reldevin, Alyssa, and that part. It has a lot of awesome Greyhawk feel to it. It's central culturally and thematically to the setting, but it doesn't have an overwhelming amount of material to go by, so to speak. You can kind of flesh out a lot of stuff in between the few things that are there. And a lot of it, what's there, it's old stuff, meaning that happened. It's full of old history that you can just read once and take it into your back of your head, and then you can just run with it, so to speak. You don't have to and there are not that many dungeons and adventures set there, but there's a lot of cool things around, meaning you have awesome forest, you have a lot of coastline, there's some mountains around, there's some elves around, humanoids, and all sorts of stuff. And climate wise, it's kind of interesting. You have everything from fairly tall mountains to swamplands to various coastline, huge forests and stuff where you can hide things in. So that is one of the areas that I think is been kind of underrated when it comes to official material, because it's basically just Ivid Undying and the Living Greyhawk guest here. That's about it. And there's not much else. And when I dug into it, it was a gold mine of cool things you could build on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
John, what do you think? By the way, everyone else, if you want to put who you would want to play with in a D&D game into chat, please do that while we're talking about this too, if you feel like it. Okay, John.
So without a doubt, it's the Empire of Ius for me, which should not be surprising from some of my earlier answers. But
Wow.
no, it was actually part of the pitch from Dave Guerreri to get me into doing Greyhawk Reborn was before I'd been doing Adventurers League and Living Forgotten Realms and just basically running the DM circuit for whatever Wizards of the Coast product they had. And but I always loved horror modules. I always loved horror stories, and I said, look, if you let me write a whole bunch of Ius themed adventures and you don't mess around with any of my evil stories that kill players, then I'm in. You can, then I'll join your group and I'll run your games, and and that's really how he got me. He said, absolutely do it, and that's how I got in. But I love having a dark setting to start, a place where your actions have very immediate and often lethal consequences, and your opportunity to be a hero is a much more stark contrast than everywhere else, especially in a living setting. If you're playing an adventure that happens in Keelan, well, Q-ish adventures are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. But in the Empire of Ius, you are a very rare mote of light in a dark, dark place. And it really is fun telling stories in that kind of a setting.
Don't say
Keep
dime a
doing
dozen.
Gate.
Don't say dime a dozen with Gary Julian around though when you're mentioning Keelan. Will.
What was I'm sorry, what was Bandit Kingdoms? Was that Ius?
No.
The Bandit
No,
Kingdoms is Casey. Casey. I mean,
Yeah.
if you know Draco Casey Brown, I mean, Bandit
Oh,
Kingdoms.
Invaded
but-
in Living Greyhawk
Yeah.
by
Yeah, but-
Ius,
Right.
so, yeah.
They were invaded, yeah.
In
And the
Okay,
story
Invaded.
Okay.
Yeah.
in the Greyhawk Reborn storyline, we had the invasion successful, so it is now in our timeline. It is technically part of the Empire of Ius,
Okay.
but that's just because we picked up at the end of Living Greyhawk and just rolled with it.
Okay. Alright.
But yeah, those were great too. Bandit Kingdoms were all really fun to use as settings to play in.
All right. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will.
Great question. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to debunk that. I think the Bandit Kingdoms is the best place. And of course, they would kick Ius out of their lands eventually. The Bandit Kingdoms, I like that regardless. But I think it has, it's sort of something that I think what Renee was saying a little bit earlier about there's, depends on the group. You can place them anywhere in Greyhawk, that sort of thing, and then you can get what you want. But the Bandit Kingdom tends to have a lot of everything in it.
Yeah.
There's good, there's bad, there's indifferent, pretty much everything you want is kind of like smooshed together in there one way or the other. So, yeah.
Can I tell a really quick embarrassing story with Nyrond and Bandit Kingdoms?
Go for it. Yeah,
Always.
absolutely.
All right. So a group of us went from Arizona, Nyrond over to Texas for Bandit Kingdoms, and Nyrond scenarios were always written as lawful good, kind of. You always do the good thing. You never turn anybody down who needs help. You'll take out your person, give it to them. That's just the way Nyrond was. Going to Bandit Kingdoms.
Nope.
And man,
Culture crash.
yeah, there was a previous something happened in a previous scenario, and you can get the enmity of a red dragon that can drop in at any time during one of the games. So at this convention, it dropped into our table, and we had one Bandit Kingdoms player, and the rest Nyrond. I'm sorry, no, there was a couple other Bandit Kingdoms players, and the other half was Nyrond, and the Bandit Kingdoms players backed off and let that person get
Eaten.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the Nairon players, no, we had to help, and we're getting the butt kicked out of us, but we're going to stay there till the bitter end with people going down. And the rest of the tables around us knew what was going on, and they were laughing at us. Well, why are you doing that? Like, because we can't let them die. No, you don't understand. You have to. No, we will not let them die.
I hope Casey was there for that and knows that story.
yeah.
I'm going to
Did
ask
you know
him.
the other players are like, I can sell that off of him. We're gonna definitely strip this.
Oh, man.
That's good. For, that's
Books are worth
treasure.
7 silver.
Oh, the hysterical
They'll be
laughs
so
of them
weak,
just
we can strip
laughing at us.
Yep.
They try and take everything. Shoes off
Yeah.
your feet. Oh, my gosh.
Those were some great times. You know, like they'd have these interactives that really affected each region that, you know, you played in. And I remember our caravans were huge. We would get like 75, 80 people from New Jersey and New York to drive up to the Canadian border to mess with their Ket Interactive. I'm like, no, like we're all Q-ish players. We like, no, we have to screw this up. Like, it's the only way to ruin Ket.
Oh, my
It's
gosh.
amazing. All the time.
Yeah, I hear there was a ton of Kia Land and Geoff interactions too because of that.
Oh,
yeah. So really,
Yeah, we had a group actually did some writing for their interactives and stuff down there and ran some interactives. A bunch of us from Keelan.
very cool.
Good people, good times. That was so much of the charm was going into the different regions and learning that they were different and each one was different. And, you know, centrally located where we were, I probably went into 5, 6, 7 different regions. And, you know, Winter Fantasy was held in DC a couple of times. So you go down there for the fiesta and you're playing in other places that you never saw before. Just good times, good people.
I missed that. That was one
Yeah.
of the big things about LG is you can travel around to different regions. Your character travels and you travel.
Yeah.
Now you can sit at your desk and play anything around the world, but before you had to get up and go.
True.
There were downsides to it as well. I understand that, but yeah.
We get to meet people in person and really get. I missed out on the whole Living Greyhawk thing, but going to Gen Con and meeting people that I had been talking to online through the bulletin boards and AOL and stuff like that at Gen Con and Origins, it really enhanced the experience when I went home and we were back talking online again. I think I missed out. I'm kind of jealous, listening to some of this.
Well, it was interesting, in the Living Greyhawk setting, unlike pretty much every other organized play setting, the players would really start to try to drive the story and feel this almost tribal attachment to their home region. So, we literally started a sort of player run campaign to rebuild the Q-ish empire from all of the little vassal states, like rejoin the empire. We've got to print it on t-shirts. It was ridiculous, but it was so much fun because every region did that. All of the players really developed a sort of it was almost like a religion about their fantasy game world that they live in. And it was just so much fun to see that, wherever you go, you had the players would take on the sort of passion for the region in the same way you would about, your sports team.
Right.
Tim, to finish this one up, where would you like to start it?
I think you're muted, Tim.
I started a campaign in Hamlet, in Saltmarsh, and in the Bandit Kingdoms. But lately these days, I'm thinking the best place to start is in the Rovers.
I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Because of this, right?
Yeah.
Dark Hand Heartstrike, Saturday morning, 9 a.m.
I like
October
it.
3rd.
But
Yeah, gonna be a epic. It's an all barbarian adventuring group. We shall see. So, good answer.
Once again, watching players get defeated by intelligence checks.
well,
Tim
I read a book. It was the story of an Indian who it was his accounting of fighting Custer because he was at the battle, and the book included all their culture, like how they kept order, how they moved, how they grew up, all their rites of past, manhood, and I realized barbarians get short shrift with the fantasy world, you know. So I have been trying to make them a little bit more culturally expanded, and so not necessarily dumb, just having different priorities.
Right. I think people confuse intelligence and knowledge, you know, stupidity and ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, you can't fix stupid. You can fix ignorance. People can learn. You know, barbarians may not have a lot of knowledge compared to, say, another culture. That doesn't mean that they're stupid. And within the confines of what they know, they would actually be very intelligent, or they wouldn't have survived.
Right.
Wasn't it on this stream that there was a discussion about barbarians and how cultures viewed the others not in their culture as barbarians?
Where the word,
It was on this one, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I
it was,
mentioned,
yeah.
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 That was one of my mention. I think it was last week.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I said that is the tendency, and
northern
I'm just looking at
barbarians.
Europe during colonization. But as soon as you described something from outside your own cultural sphere, it was like they were barbarians, and it's go back from the Romans until modern times. That's I think it's a basic human instinct to, if we don't
Yeah.
understand and don't speak the language, we eat different food, then all of a sudden they become barbarians, primitive, and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's
So
a-
somewhere in the D&D math, it turned into being dumb.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the interesting things about the different editions, especially. So 5th edition, if you pay attention to sort of the crunchiness of the game, instead of just the story, there's only one character class that uses intelligence. Like it literally serves no purpose for every other class in the game. So if you had a party full of barbarians, almost guaranteed they've all dumped their intelligence to 8. And then of course a simple intelligence check stops the adventure in its tracks.
Yeah, it's the problem with
But
the
of course, in previous editions, it wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
You know, intelligence gave you skills or gave you languages. You know, there was some value to having
No
it as
spell
secondary
percent.
stat.
Yeah, I
Right.
make my players roll intelligence checks all the time on a die 20. So
I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a really stupid barbarian, but he's fun to role play looking through the eyes of someone who doesn't understand a lot of things. He's really very, you know, operates on instinct. And just playing that way has saved the party a number of times where he's like, something happens and he runs because it's like, it's magical looking. There's electric lightning bolts. And then he runs accidentally right into the illusionist who was scaring everybody off to the side. So that just happened.
are you talking about Fang?
Yeah, yeah.
Fang Runefist. He's got 5 intelligence though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's like 6 intelligence, 5 or 6. He has a pet wolf.
First edition. Yeah.
Right. Ugh.
But it's like intelligence and wisdom. For when I'm running games, when it comes to monsters and NPCs, those are the two very, very vital stats, because they kind of tell me how smart they behave and how much they can understand of what's going on and stuff. So meaning take dumb like undead zombies and skeletons that just do whatever. It doesn't matter what happens. They can't react and interact with their surroundings. They just follow basic instincts, and animals are a bit more, they follow their basic ideas. But but when you go into and take humanoids, take the basic standard humanoid, might not know much, have not much experience, intelligence. And then when I depict, like, I use shock troops, meaning they're like 6-8 level, they survived 25 battles and whatnot. You don't fool them easily. They don't go into traps. They know how to ambush you properly. They know how to react. You can't fool them, so to speak. So intelligence and wisdoms are two very vital stats.
Fang was punching a lot of people in the face until he found out that there's other languages. And he knows that now he doesn't need to just take stuff. He can just hand this gold stuff to people and they give him stuff.
See? Yep.
So.
That's awesome. Yeah.
All right. So this is an open question. We don't have to round table to everyone on this, especially if you haven't had this happen. But Draco's Wizard asked, and this is from the audience, first one, have you ever had to kick a player out, and how'd you handle it?
Yes.
Okay, Amy, go for it first.
This actually happened very early in my career as a DM, as it were. One of my earliest groups was my best friend from high school, her boyfriend, her brother, and another young man. So I was 18 or so. Two of the other players were like 18, 19. So fairly mature, but the other two players were like 13 years old. And the one young man, he was playing a barbarian, and he was playing the stereotype. And he didn't like something that one of the other players did during the game. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but it really kind of outsmarted this young man. And it turned into an argument. And I'm like, okay, guys, let's, kind of bring it down a notch so I can move the game forward, because I was running. And next thing I know, another player is like telling this kid to shut up, sit down and shut up.
Oh boy.
And the kid threatens the other player. And so I just looked at the player and I said, out. That's exactly the gesture I made, because we were in the basement and I pointed towards the stairs, and I kicked him out of there and wouldn't let him back in, because that kind of thing was just a no-go for me. And that was, it was just instinct. I didn't even think about it. As soon as I heard it, that was it. I was done. There was no negotiation. There was no talking about it. I wasn't going to have it.
And you use the universal sign language.
Yeah.
I don't recall how he reacted. I do recall he left. He didn't like the look on my face.
Was the tried and true where you just quit inviting them, like everybody else talks and you pick another date?
No.
Everybody goes and starts showing up.
We didn't change. We changed nothing. We did not change our game night, our time, our location, which was my friend's house, and he lived there. We changed nothing, and he begged to come back in the game. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. I just, you got some anger management problems, and you need to take care of. More of an 18-year-old way of saying that, but you got issues, dude. You got to deal with your other issues. You can't come back in my game.
In general, I think basically what you do is, I find most effective is just you take it on yourself and you go, my style of DMing just doesn't fit your style of playing.
Not you, it's me.
Exactly.
Sometimes.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. I think that most Dungeons and Dragons DMs are bizarrely confrontation averse, which is strange given that we're constantly beating on our players' characters, right? But that is a pretty common trait, and I feel like, William, the sort of half joke you were making before, that's exactly right. Most of the time you just sort of gently stop scheduling that player to show up. It's much less painful when we're going to still be friends, but I know that they're always working on Friday nights, so game night's Friday night now. And that happens.
Well, that's the problem is so many of the times, you're friends or close associates one way or another, or friends with a good friend of yours. So that really throws a monkey wrench. Like nowadays, with virtual tabletops and all that, that's easy. Like, I'm sorry, you can't play anymore.
Yeah, you can just
delete, ban.
I'm gonna sound. I've never really had the luxury of doing it that way, because I'm going to tell another embarrassing story on myself. I guess I actually kicked my now ex-husband out of my game. We were married at the time, and I kicked him out of my game.
That was the sign of things to come, right there. It was just
yeah. Well, the marriage was in trouble for a lot of other reasons, but he was. I had a female player in the game who was very shy, and I had been working with her, and she was starting to get some confidence. She had some really cool ideas. He was stealing her ideas and claiming them as his own. And I kept telling him, "Can't do that, man. What are you doing?" And he wouldn't quit doing it. So I finally told him, "Look, other players are in revolt. You can't play in this group anymore." And I started a new group for him. I recruited a couple other players and started a new group so they could keep playing. But
look at how that worked.
The new group worked well. The new group worked well for him, but that original group that he had been in wasn't a good fit.
Anyone else have this issue? I know Tim and I have. We had a friend, the other Bill, and I've told him about it multiple times. He just did not play well with others. World of Warcraft, D&D, just,
Yeah, we back in the day in Sweden, we have one that was actually, he was very talented when it comes to, he made his own miniatures from wax and was kind of a crafter. He was a great artist. We wanted him in the game, and we had him in the game, and the problem was that he was greedy and he loved his own voice 10 times more than I do. So he kept on babbling, and he took all the time, and he was greedy. So he always stole snacks and everything from everybody else.
I stole
People-
snacks.
Yeah, so people got fed up. We were like 20 or something like that, 18, 20 or 22.
He's
or
a
something.
sensitive
And-
artist.
Yeah, and so we were so fed up. How we dealt with it was that we started taking turns. So we made sure that we pooled and we bought stuff together, and then we paid perfectly, and we took time on stuff. Like, now you have 30 seconds to talk, and we divided treasure up minuscule. We had to roll, and we were taking notes on everything, so you couldn't cheat, whatever. And he got so fed up that he just played 2 or 3 sessions and then just yelled at us and ran out, and we were so happy because then we could go on, on for a few sessions. But we made a pact, and we took it so meticulously. It was ridiculous, everything. And he was like this, he just ran off, so to speak. So that was it. But that was cooperation between all the rest of us players and DMs to kind of make it happen, so to speak.
I had to kick myself out once. I was stationed at West Point, and I was like, man, I miss gaming. And there was a hobby store. It was, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes away that had a game. So I started playing, and I really liked the DM, but he had this guy who was in the game, you know, who was way younger than me. I mean, I was only like 28, 29, and he was telling me how to do things. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing this since I was 9, you know, and really overbearing, obnoxious, basically ruining my fun. And I was kind of like, look, it's a sacrifice to come here. So if he's staying, I'm out. So
I've done that. I've never kicked anybody out, but I excuse myself from tables I don't like. There was one that I almost did. It was organized play, and it's very obvious the person was fudging their die rolls. And I would try to sit next to him when everybody's gathering, but he would wait to see where I sat, and then sat in the furthest corner of the table. And until one time, I go, all right, I'll just wait. And I waited. He finally sat down, and I sat down next to him, and he didn't make every attack roll, every save, every skill check. He started failing some stuff. And then I asked a couple other players there after the game that I was going to bounce him, and they said, no, please don't, because he was a buddy of theirs. All right. That's fine, but I'm not going to run him anymore.
Organized play is a different animal than a home game by far. I mean, you know, I've been dealing with organized play since 2001, almost exclusively. And, you know, you're in public places, you're not an invitation only event. And as Renee said, there's been more than a few times where I've chosen to sit out a game and go do something else, as opposed to sit at a table with that guy or that girl, because everybody knows who they are in a living campaign setting and at the cons. It's just sometimes, you know, we got to the point of times where we'd soak it up, and sometimes, you know, well, I already had my turn with that person. Your turn. You get them this slot, and you get them the next slot. And, you know, we just kind of pass it around, or you're just easier to remove yourself from the situation than deal with it. I don't know. I tend to, if it's less stress for me, I'm all for that, whatever the solution is.
We tend to solve some of those tables, the tables with the dam.
Yeah.
I got
Jay, John, and I know who they are. And if anybody's listened from living, yeah. If you don't know if you're one, you
don't
probably
say any names
are.
out loud.
No. Yeah. If you don't know if you are one, you probably are one.
You probably, yeah.
Yeah.
There was, I wasn't, this wasn't my table. I was a player at the table, and I arrived late, but so I missed the fight, the fisticuffs that were being thrown around the table from, I guess one guy insulted the other guy, and then he didn't like it, so I guess he was going to get a drink, and then he put him in a choker hold, and then somebody else came across the table, and they got it all squared away. It was a big old fist fight.
Wow.
And I wasn't there. And then I come in afterwards, and everybody's sitting there, and everybody's so quiet and whatnot. And we're in our early 20s, and so I start talking trash to everyone. What the hell's wrong with you? And so blah, 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 so forth, so on. And it's like I'm there for 5 minutes, and then the game ends. And so the one guy who got beat up never came back.
I got thrown out of a game once.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was shocked as anybody. I thought my two buddies that would continue playing. And turns out he ended up coming back and joining us in Greyhawk Reborn and writing adventures and being an admin for a while after a few years. So had a happy ending. But
Yeah.
I mean, definitely haven't been. I did organized play just like all of you did, and I've been to the comic book shop games. And when I first moved to the region I'm living in now, in the Hudson Valley of New York, it was a new comic book shop, new people I didn't know. And so I figured I'll DM for a while and, make some friends, and that worked out well. And then this other guy started DMing, and he had been playing at my table. So I thought, I'll play at his game. And we were doing, sort of pre-published 4th edition Forgotten Realms stuff at the store. And, I'm really into game mastery. I mean, of the group of the Greyhawk Reborn team here, I'm probably the most power gamey of the bunch of us. So, he'd have a really tough battle all scripted out, think he was going to take all night. And my initiative would roll around and I'd clean the board. And he started to get really mad, and it was pretty visible at the table. But then, like the next week, he calls me up and he's like, hey, I want to talk to you when you come to the shop tonight. I went down to the shop, and, he came over and said, look, me and the other players were talking, and, we don't like your play style. And I said, really? So I walked across the room to where all the other players were sitting, and I asked each of them how they felt about my play style, and they all said, no, we love it. That's great. And then, I told the DM, like, look, man, if you have a problem with my play style, you could have talked to me about it directly. But because you're, trying to make up stories and say everybody else isn't having a good time, I just don't appreciate that. So I walked away. And it was tough. Like I like that group of players, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you get so many different personalities. Sometimes you just rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I have two sides of that same thing there. One, I don't know how to build a power PC at all. And so because of that, I like making characters with flaws. And then their journey is to repair that flaw. But because of that, when I have as a player somebody next to me who is that min-maxer and can save our behinds out of something, that's great. But as a DM, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I see the holistic view of the whole table, that there's been many times where somebody has this cranked up initiative. They go first and kill something on their turn, and everybody else doesn't do anything. To me, that takes a bit away from the other players. So at times the monster's hit points just tripled. Sure, go ahead and lay in 150, 200 points of damage on your turn. Oh, you know what? It has 250 today. And all the other players get to have their turn.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny, like I actually learned to be a better player from joining the Knights of the Watch in character, because the Knights of the Watch have all these like crazy precepts, and they include things like letting other people take glory, right? So once I learned that as a PC, I sort of ported it into my life as a player. So I would, even though I have a character that's capable of, wiping the board or whatever, I just wouldn't do it, because you want to give the other people at the table a chance to feel heroic. And you don't want to snatch that from other players. So unless I'm playing with a whole bunch of people who are all ridiculous power gamers, I'll have the sort of nuclear option if things are going south. But usually I'll just let people play what they want to play and let them feel that glory. And it's so much more fun when you do that for other players.
I have found that that trying to be a mini-maxer in my own game style really doesn't work for me that well, because it really doesn't matter how well I mini-max a character or not. My dice are going to screw me in the end. They always do. So I quit trying because it just doesn't matter.
I have when I'm DMing, if and this is pretty much my DM style regardless anyway, but everything in my game is fluid. Monsters are fluid, their abilities are fluid, their hit points are fluid. So there is not a set number on anything. So anytime I want to deviate or change it or what have you, and it's like, wait a minute, that goblin just spit fire on me. I'm like, oh man, sure did. It's like, and it's like, well, goblins don't do that. It's like, well, that one did. You have to find out how that one did it. things like that, because that's it, and that's more so. Besides keeping people on their toes, it's if you have min-maxers who, because basically they're min-max according to how everything is set in the books, one to the next, and the monsters are set towards those rules and whatnot too. So if you just take it, favorite monster, I didn't come up with it. It was a DM that I used to play with. Had a monster, and the monster could only take damage from magical items, which that's common, but the only damage they took was from the bonus of the magical item. So a +1 sword did 1 point of damage to it.
Tink, 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 tink.
Exactly. And the guy really wasn't a very super strong monster, but its whole thing was it was very good at getting away and not getting killed. And everyone's like, how does that not working? And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. But it was like the ultimate. And it's like they were taking damage, but
yeah. It reminds me of the Nilbog. Love it.
Yes! Someone brought up the Nilbog.
Yeah.
My
I was
God.
thinking, that's what I thought he was going to say.
Yep.
Nilbog, is that what it's got? I'm gonna have to look
You got to
it up.
heal a Nilbog to
You
damage
have to
it.
heal him
Yeah.
the damage.
Yeah.
They're the
Excellent.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the games we played in, the DM pulled out one time. It was a first edition game, I think, and it was a duck, and it was a 24 hit die duck with magic resistance and a breath weapon. And it just
Hell yeah. See,
Oh.
that's the way you're supposed to do it.
Howard the
yeah.
Duck on
So
steroids.
I'd like to go back and put that one as one of my inspirations from an earlier
my
question
gosh.
as well. So just stuff like that. You just got to keep people on their toes.
Yeah.
A friend of mine in high school joined our gaming group. She'd never gamed before. She created a fighter character because she didn't know the first thing about gaming. And when she was looking at her goal, first edition D&D, she's looking at her gold and figuring out what she could buy for equipment. She couldn't buy very much because she just rolled really badly. And she's looking at the list, and there's a list of animals, and she wanted a pet, and the only thing she could afford was a chicken. So, chicken. And she took a chicken into the dungeon. So we get attacked by some orcs or goblins or whatever, and the chicken attacks one of the orcs because the orc is trying to catch it. And the chicken rolled 1d4, rolled 1 point of damage. Well, the orc had 1 hit point.
There you go.
Killed the orc.
Pecked to death. Yep.
That's actually the old school. I don't remember who it was, but there were people at Gygax's table. They used to, that was regular. They took chickens into the dungeon.
They really.
Oh, yeah.
Chickens
You
was-
chuck them down halls and stuff and let them run around it.
I
Bags
had,
of chickens. It's
I had a
ridiculous.
player do that. Take a
Yeah.
chicken, and there were glyphs on the door, so they were like throwing the chicken onto the glyph to have it go off.
Yeah, but I think this kind of brings a very important aspect to the game. Meaning, for some people, this is basically D&D and role-playing games are a game about storytelling and kind of have a fun telling a story together and so on and so forth. But for other people, the game mechanics and winning and not losing and getting through the adventure is the key, so to speak. Meaning to win the encounter, to be successful, and so they see it more as a game. It's a kind of a fluid, open-ended version of chess. It's kind of the game is the essential. The story is there to entertain other players. Some are there are extremes in both ends. Meaning there are people that just love the story, improv, and the rules are just some messy things that other players like most, and necessary evil in order to make it a game. And for other people, the rules are it, so to speak. Min-maxing is everything, and my +2, and they basically carry weapons like golf clubs so they have the perfect
Yes.
one for everything.
Need a 9 wood for
yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Meaning I have one for undead and I have one for this and
Welcome
whatever.
to 3-5.
Yeah, exactly. So
There's
and
absolutely no space
yeah.
for dragging
Yeah,
it with that.
yeah, and I think it's important to find that a kind of because it is a gradual scale from very few people. I don't think there are any gamers who are in the ends of the spectrum. All of us are somewhere in the middle, and I think it's important to find what works for each gaming group. And for home
Yes.
games, it's kind of easy because you can pick the players and all that. But for organized play, and I've played organized play in Pathfinder quite often, and then I realized I played organized play basically to learn the rules properly. That was the thing I got, and I got to hang out with gamers. But the story immersion was almost gone because everybody had to follow the rules, and that was min maxers. And my characters were like Renee said, my character was always the worst, because I love the ones that kept it interesting and kind of could help out a little bit here and help out a little bit there,
Yeah.
and so on, multi-class, whatever, fun characters. And
Yeah.
I was screwed, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, just before this stream, a couple hours before, I was in that Pathfinder group, the ones who don't play 5e. It's the New York group when I used to live there, and they are min-maxers to the nth degree.
Casey.
And I drive them crazy because I'm not. And I have a fighter that's an archer. He took the feats for the archer, but he multi-classed into Pathfinder, Chronicler, and Brightness Seeker. So his BAB is tiny, and he doesn't hit too often, but I could do all kinds of cool role-playing stuff. And it drives him crazy because I can't hit as much as, or do whatever as much. And what do you mean you don't have this feat to do that? Because I don't have it. I can pull out a scroll if you want, but
different types of players.
don't have it.
All right, I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to go on to another question. Man, this was great. I mean, on this bouncing around, if you're okay, because this one
generated all this.
yeah, this is a serious one. Canadian asked, have you ever had to deal with, and this could be a military or personal, someone with like a real situation with PTSD or an emotional issue? I know like Frank and Ann from Nightheart, they have therapeutic sessions. And how do you handle it? What do you do in that situation? Will and Anna, please like take over I have to hit the men's room real quick here while this is going on. Who wants to take that one up? That's a serious one. So
That
I
is a
answered
serious
first
one.
last time, so let somebody else answer first.
I never have done something like that with somebody at the table. There was one person who did mention it, but he didn't really require anything from the table. He just wanted us to all know. But the reason I wanted to jump in first is just recently on the D&D celebration, there was a panel with a few psychologists on there, and they were talking about bringing mental health issues into gaming as a therapeutic or somehow to deal with it. Maybe deal with it was the wrong word. And at first I was thinking, well, that really doesn't apply to me. So I was going to skip it, but then I thought, no, I should listen to it. And it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So if anybody has that D&D celebration on Friday, I forget what hour it's on, but it's on there.
We've got a convention coming up the week after virtual Greyhawk Con. We've been there for a couple of years. It's a virtual con, but it's called Save Against Fear, and it's run by a group here in Central PA called the Baldwin Group. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. And they basically use gaming. It's a fundraiser for them. They use gaming as a therapeutic measure to help people with emotional issues, anger issues, and all kinds of issues. Tremendous people do, from what I understand, amazing work using gaming as a role playing, type of thing to solve problems and I guess. Look at different ways to resolve issues and such. So
they've been doing that for a long time, though.
They have.
There's a good, back from like at least the early '80s, they've been talking about the benefits of role playing for therapy and what have you. I just think recently it's gotten to more where that's come out into the open, where it's accepted as D&D itself has gotten more accepted as a whole. So.
Yeah,
hell, we used to be the antisocial game. Now we're the social game that
exactly.
folks are using.
That's it. So, it's interesting you should say that, because I think probably at least 50% of the people I have played with have some sort of diagnosis, right? I mean, even more so when you go to a convention and it's a bunch of people you don't know from real life. I mean, we encounter people all the time who have real difficult time sort of integrating socially with people. And D&D really is an amazing way to do that. I mean, it lets you literally step outside of yourself and be the person that you want to be, who has the social skills that you don't have, or the physical appearance that you don't have, or the physical prowess that you don't have. It is such a powerful tool for letting people get outside of that sort of crushing depression and loneliness that goes along with being socially awkward. and now it's just become more prominent, even though that's really what we've been doing with it for years.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's always served that population.
And
Yeah.
there's actually research going on to actually validate gaming as a therapeutic tool. I work in healthcare. I'm a registered nurse, and I went to a conference a couple of years ago. There are therapists at the Children's Hospital in the Cincinnati area who have been using gaming with the transgender community. So they're working with young people who maybe really not sure who they are. They're maybe not sure what their sexual identity is or their gender identity. And gaming gives them an opportunity to explore a different identity in a neutral, safe, non-judgmental environment. And the DM is a therapist, but they don't do therapy in the game. They play the game, and then they do the therapy as a debrief afterwards. And there's research coming out that is validating this as an effective tool. My friend Greg Smith that I mentioned earlier has been my GM for years. He recently got his doctorate in psychology. He did his dissertation on self-efficacy with gaming, and he actually did it at Origins. He gathered data that showed that gaming helps people develop a sense of self-efficacy, a sense of confidence in themselves, of what they know and what they can do. They learn all that through gaming.
Yeah, I think people started, like John was saying, it's like we all pretty much knew this and knew that we all were getting some sort of benefit out of it when the table's right. And I think that's the big thing, is that when you know that your table's right, the people there. So I think maybe what Canadian, were you trying to say whether or not, what are tips for that? Is that what he was looking to?
Well, instances and yeah.
Yeah.
I would say talk to the table before the game begins. Yeah. I think not for, of course, when you do a tournament, you can't do that, but probably the most important thing you do for a home game, a new home game, when it's new players coming in, have a session 0 that has nothing to do with role playing, but talking about what you want the game to be, things that and just have a big old just BS session. I think that's probably the most beneficial thing any new group could ever do.
And don't stream it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't stream it
until you're comfortable, until everyone's
streaming
comfortable.
games are
yes.
special difficulty.
Yeah.
I would say. Oh, go ahead. Well, I was going to say with that, if this is from an organized play sense where you may not have that luxury to speak with anybody, but if you do notice somebody sit down and struggle as the DM, you have to control your table and not really control your players in a sense. But one example is if this person is struggling or maybe not speak up, and you notice other players who may not notice that they're being a little overbearing, or they might misread that the person, the player who is overbearing is probably just misreading that the person doesn't know what they're doing. So then they begin to control their character, telling them what to do, or maybe speaking over them. And as a DM, I think it's a responsibility to see that and control them in a sense, to let that person speak for themselves, let them work this out for themselves.
You know, if you're especially if you're playing a home game and you're bringing new people in, and you know you're going to be spending a tremendous amount of time. You're spending 4, 5, 6 hours every week, every other week with this person. Go out and have dinner with them beforehand. Just as a human being, and find out what's going on away from the table, away from gaming. Talk about other things. See what's going on. You know, share backgrounds of where you've come from and things like that, and get to know the person outside of a gaming context a little bit before you get into the game. Yeah. I mean, you know, and you know, I ran a gaming club. I was a high school teacher for almost 34 years, had a gaming club of some sort for most of them. And, you know, like Renee said, a lot of times you get new folks come in, they don't know what to do, especially teenagers tend to be more overbearing. You know, as a DM, you really just need to sit down and be aware not only of what the characters are doing at the table, but what the players, read their body language, read their faces, and you got to give everybody a chance to shine.
And one thing I would kind of segue onto that is, you know, as the DM, if something happens during your game where you didn't read the situation correctly and you end up pushing a player's buttons unintentionally. Like, I think the original question had asked, about PTSD. And I know that this has happened to me as a player, where the DM just, because I have PTSD, just hit my PTSD button and didn't realize he was doing it. And another player kind of had to take him aside and said, when you did this to Amy's character, you really hit something that's a raw nerve for her. And he was like, oh, and once he understood that, we were able to talk it out. And so it's just a willingness to have a little bit of give and take and work out these issues when they happen, because it's impossible to avoid every issue. It just, players and DMs both need to keep an open mind when something happens, so that you can kind of talk these things out. Because if you can do that, then you can put it behind you and you move forward and everybody can have a good time.
That's what I think is important about when you talk about it to begin with, because it diffuses that situation or the stigma of bringing it up. When you're all sitting around and just talk about it beforehand, it's like, hey, if I ever do something, you can do this, or, feel free to bring it to my attention, pass me, because if you've already had that conversation, you don't feel as like, oh, should I say something? Or, he's like, Bob already said, you could punch me in the leg if you need to get my attention,
Yeah.
So,
And I think Dave said something really important when he said that you have to watch your players and kind of read body language and stuff. And I had one example back in Sweden, like 15, 20 years ago or something. We had a couple of new players, and after a while we had, like you often had, characters sitting in an inn, and you have some drinking contest, there's a dwarf involved, and things go haywire. And after a while, one of my players said, no, I don't like this, and I don't really, and then he said that I'm an alcoholic, and I've just been sober for like 6 months. I don't like this, and that triggered him, and he was really brave coming forward with that. So he turned out to be good, but I realized it was my dumb mistake. I ran the game, and I should have seen that one coming, so to speak. I was too involved in dice and handing out effects and whatnot, so I should have seen that one. So that was my mistake. So
I've always been a big believer, and I've told you, asked John and Jay this from day one I started here. It's we're in the entertainment industry here as GMs, and we're putting on a show every time, and those people, especially in our living campaign, they're spending their free time and their hard-earned money to come in and be entertained and have fun for the weekend and get away from the real world and run into our little fantasy world for a while. We always got to keep that in mind, whether it's a home game, whether it's a convention game or whatever. They're looking for their escape, and they need a chance to shine. They need a chance to do what they need to do so that that Monday morning or whenever they can go back to what they need to do in life. This is their escape.
I mean, and I'll say, because I run what we were calling the Greyhawk by Night adventures more often than not. I think of the 25 or something adventures I've written for the campaign. 17 of them are written in the Greyhawk by Night setting, which is generally speaking the evil version of things. And I have a disclaimer that goes with every module that warns people about potential triggers. And at the beginning of every game, I do a 30-second session 0 where I say, hey, this adventure is likely to touch up against some themes that might make you uncomfortable. If that happens, please talk to me. Tell me, just give me a signal, kick me under the table, pull me aside, and I will change the way I run the adventure so that you are not more uncomfortable than you're willing to be. Because I don't want anybody to ever feel like they have to, listen to, the description of physical abuse of children in detail. Like if you are a person who's ever survived that sort of thing, I don't want you to be re-triggered by me telling a story about some evil priest of Ayus. So, I am more than happy to accommodate my players, and I let them know about those kinds of potential things well in advance.
And you always have people that won't listen. I remember John's slot 0 for his campaign. He ran his Midnight Madness, and John's telling me just about everybody's going to die. And people were asking me, is that what's going to happen? I said, hey, you take your own risk. I mean, John's saying everybody's going to die. If John's saying everybody's going to die, you're probably going to die. They're like, no.
There are
They end up
6
playing it.
players.
Yeah, there's 6
God.
players, and 5 of them are bitching at me the next day. But yeah, he killed me. He killed 5 of us. We told you. We told you. What did you expect? I said, we're not lying to you. People are going to die. Anyway.
Excellent questions, fantastic answers. So here's my question, everyone. I say this every week. Are you okay if we go a little late?
Sure.
Okay. All
Always.
right. Excellent. I know, Renee, it's really late for you there. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, real quick announcement. I'm going to put up everyone's like, drawing. Yes, there is one tonight. So I don't know if you heard, but my guy, Brian, cannot run his game next Sunday. So I had a hole in the schedule. So I came up with this concept, and that is Sunday after the Greyhawk All-Stars. Welcome to the Narwhal Headhunters. I'm going to run a low-level adventure, like first, second level, 4 hours. It's going to have an ode to Leonard Lekofka in it. So this is what I'm going to do. It's not posted up yet in TTE, but it's about to be. But if you must be registered on TTE already, or you got to go out, run there and do it now, I'm giving away 2 seats into the game right now. All right. And at the end of the show, I'm going to draw those 2. If you're interested, you got to be registered on TTE already. You can't leave any game you're in already, and you can't move around for something. So, yeah, very cool. See, I come up with ideas occasionally, Casey. So here you go. I'm going to set this up right now. All right. So, and that's at 11 a.m. Sunday, 11 to 3. Okay. Skagit's game will be coming into ours, and then we'll be going into the giant blue boxes. So if you want to play in that, it's going to be like second level characters. Please sign up, and we'll draw the 2 automatic seats, and I'm going to post it after tonight. All righty. Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, next question. This one, I'm going to merge 2 together. What do you do with like a player who's not playing their alignment, or the characters got low intelligence, but they know everything because they know the characters and all? I know sometimes it's difficult. The alignment thing bothers me more than the intelligence thing, me personally. But who wants to handle that one first? Those kind of issues.
In 5e, in alignment doesn't really matter. How about that?
There we go.
Oh.
I'll just pull out something I mentioned earlier: the 12-hit die duck with breath weapon and magic resistance. For the guy that knows everything. You don't know everything, and I'll make shit like that up on the spot. I hope I can swear.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I fly by the seat of my pants, and okay, you got all the answers. No, you don't, because I don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as the alignment, that's a hard one. I mean, you can hit them with it after the fact.
It can be hard.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a lot of fun on the DM's part of it, probably, but I mean, yeah. I don't know, because I would have to say probably people who are perpetual, if this is your home group, I'll say I could give the answer. The guys who are going to do that probably beforehand. Just take a look at their character beforehand and go, seriously, Bob, really? Lawful evil? You can't, no, come on now. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, it's hard because you don't want to say no to somebody. So,
but over time, actions speak louder than alignment.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
There are consequences in game for your actions, and people, especially as you go up through levels and you get to be known. Yeah. And I don't care what your character sheet says, your actions speak louder.
And you know what? I would have to say that because in Greyhawk, on the stream that we're doing, the adventurers came in and they were trying to tell everybody that you need to call our group this, or you need to call our group that. And then the town started calling them the vultures.
Because that's how they behave. I love it.
Then the prices in town crept up for them when they went to the store and things like that. So,
good.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that 100%.
With alignment, you also have to look at the campaign, and also organized play. So for 5th edition, alignment doesn't mean too much. Eberron, alignment doesn't mean too much. And they give many examples that your traditional chaotic evil, like a Medusa, might be lawful neutral in Eberron. You don't know. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it. It gets away from all those tropes. But for Greyhawk, to me, Greyhawk has always been the traditional campaign, and alignments do mean a lot. So if you have a lawful good paladin, you need to behave as a lawful good paladin. And I played in a game in Pathfinder where somebody was a paladin lawful good, and it was a setting where we walked into a town, somebody walked up to our group, said, hey, that person's bothering me, go kill him. Paladin player says, oh, I'm a paladin, I have to do what I'm told, and goes and, no, you don't. That is not paladin, man. That is not. And
There are
so-
those that
lawful
play
stupid. Is what
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are those who play their character and have a backstory for their character before they put their numbers down. And then there are those who are using their alignment and everything to maximize their character.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
they've chosen their alignment and their deity for whatever benefit
Sure.
it gives them. Because
Well, that's
matches
why
with
chaotic
everything else.
neutral existed,
Yeah.
right? It was it's the alignment that lets me get away with anything.
Yeah.
Well, what I liked about other people's DM styles that I've sort of harvested over the years is when you get people who are role playing more charming than they are, or role playing smarter than they are. I like to have them say whatever their character is saying, and then roll the die, and the die roll dictates what actually happens. So they'll say, like, oh, well, I know how to solve this puzzle because the PC knows how to solve the puzzle, right? Because he's played the adventure before, or he's read the book. Well, okay, make the check. All right, so you go, you roll a 5. So now when you go and you're like, I know how to solve this puzzle, you immediately trigger the trap, and everybody in the room all suffers because of your hubris,
Yes.
right? And I do the same thing when they think they're being very charming because the PC happens to be a good, has good stage presence, so they role play in a very charming fashion, but then their character has an 8 in charisma. I have them roll it, and it's like, yeah, well, that's what it sounded like to you, but to everybody else, it sounded like you were drunk, and you can change it up so that you don't just let the player, run roughshod over their character.
I like role playing low charisma.
Yeah.
You do.
I gotta say, I think this is more of a later edition problem than an earlier edition problem.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of rules in advanced and in second that basically cover this. Whereas in 5th edition they don't have any of that sort of stuff. So then you're pitting the player against the DM as far as, and if the player's okay to go down the road as far as what the DM decides is rules, I mean, in 2nd and 1st edition, there's like, okay, you do that, then your alignment shifts, and then there's actual
Right, and
rules
there's
for that.
consequences, right? Now
Well, and you
there's
also have
consequences.
NPC reactions tables and stuff that you can fall back on, which are affected by charisma.
There are no murder hobos in 1st and 2nd edition.
Can't be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure there are.
They're called prisoners. Or they're called dead.
Right. And that's the way I think that it's just a 3rd, 4th, and 5th more so. Because were there NPC reactions in 3rd edition? I don't even remember.
Yeah. Well, in
there-
Nyrond,
was
Well, I mean,
in Nyrond,
it
there
was in some ways it was actually worse, right? Like in 3rd edition, especially once they released the epic level handbook, you could have the player who has the worst role-playing skills of all time, but whose charisma is cranked out in such a way that they can move a hostile NPC to a berserking fanatic supporter with like a single die roll. And they're like, well, that strains my imagination somewhat.
Yeah.
There's a whole system that allows for that. If you're playing hero system and because you're using the characteristic of presence, where you can make a presence attack or a presence check, and you can actually build a power with dice that will influence somebody else's reaction, which it can be useful if you're maybe not the best actor in the world, and I really want to make a good impression, and I'm not role playing it very well, so you make it a matter of dice.
Yeah. My favorite is to basically meet a compromise with the player on how we'll handle the situation. It's like, okay, so you want to do what? What do you think would influence this? And and have it be a little bit more free form. But you have to have good players to be able to do that. And
Or maybe
it doesn't always work.
Modify the role.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
and in 5th edition, actually, that's my most common go-to. Like if somebody actually does say the right thing, I'll either automatically have them succeed, or I'll just give them advantage for the check because they said exactly the things they need to say.
Yeah.
So
My
they should be
problem
somewhere.
My problem in 5th is they want the role to do everything, and then when I debunk that, and they get, "Oh, what are you doing?" Just last Tuesday, they polymorphed something into a large, like the King Kong, the giant ape, and it's like, okay, it's his turn. It's like, okay, I'm gonna start throwing rocks at him. It's like, well, you got to pick him up. It's like, what do you mean I got to pick him up? It says his ability. It's like, what do you think? He's polymorphed with boulders in his hand. You got to go get him.
Right.
True.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can take alignment and you can use that for a good basis for some storytelling. I used to play a paladin of Hieronius, and my GM wanted to give her some moral challenges, and so she was sent to this village that was in rebellion, and she was supposed to deal with the problem. They were led by a druid of the old faith, and so there was some religious conflict there. She's trying to negotiate a settlement and lose control of the soldiers under her command who massacre the entire village. And when she tries to discipline them later, her superiors get on her. Well, you didn't follow your orders. Your orders were to go in and clear those people out. I mean, we didn't send you in to negotiate. We sent you in to get rid of the rebels, and you didn't do that. And so that created some conflicts for her that made her start to question, is this the right path for me? Morally, I don't think that this went down the way it should have or could have. I don't know if I can live with this. I don't know if this is my right path. So it created a lot of questioning and inner turmoil, and it drove later stories. That's one of the things that you can do with alignment in a positive way, as opposed to, oh, it's just an impediment to what I want to do, or it's a tool for getting what I want.
I had a paladin who was in one of Jay's campaign, and when you catch the bad guys, you do want to kill them, but when they surrender, there's that big temptation. Well, there's no law around here, so we're just going to use the evidence at hand to decide.
Frontier justice.
Yeah, so I remember taking them prisoner and then rehabilitating them, making them work, teaching them craft, indoctrinating them continuously. And of course, Paladin's got 17 charisma, so they're pretty.
Oh,
yeah,
pretty influential. And it took, I don't know, Jay, how many months and months and months. Eventually, their alignment did change. They saw that, man, the way we were living before sucked.
Yep.
They were bandits and brigands, so they, that was not as easy as just.
Yeah.
I do have
Greyhawk,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I
Go
was
ahead,
just saying, Living Greyhawk had exactly that mechanic built in. I remember I had a Knight of the Watch character who came across a Norker NPC who was chaotic evil, and you could get them as a follower. And then every adventure, their alignment would shift 1 bar closer to your alignment. It took something like 25, 30 adventures played with that character to get him to become a lawful good squire. But it was excellent. And you got to
That's
role play
awesome.
this guy who slowly shifted from, wanting to eat you while you slept to eventually being able to understand basic rules and then eventually becoming a good person. But it was really fun, and they had a system for it. So you didn't have to just say, okay, all of a sudden now he's a good guy. You built it up over time.
Well, that's Bigby's story. In Gygax's original campaign, when he was the player and playing Mordenkainen, Rob Kuntz introduced an evil mage named Bigby, and Mordenkainen took him prisoner. Instead of killing him, decided to convert him to the path of neutrality and balance. And Rob said, fine, if you want to do that, you can, but you've got to make it work. So after a number of sessions of gameplay, Rob felt that it was a convincing enough story. Bigby's alignment changed, and so they went from being a prisoner to being his henchman, and the character went on from there. And then Gary Gygax got control of Bigby's character sheet at that point.
I got a good idea that, at least I think it's my idea, so it's got to be good. So I was thinking about ways to incorporate alignment, and they have the personality trait flaw and all these different things for the character that you can use for the role-playing aspects. And my idea, which I'll be using going forward, is to tie an XP bonus to those if used correctly in the session. Not a big one, but say like if you can have an example of role play in which you used did something that was in accordance of which your alignment, you maybe would get 50 gold. I'm not 50 gold, 50 experience points. But even more so for those flaws in the different aspects and their codes that they have. If you hit that role-playing beat where you can show that's definitely in line with what you have here to help them, for one, consider how you build your character a little bit more and to keep them more in line with, you know, how the character's meant to be, so you don't have a thing where the paladins lining them up, kneeling on the side of the road to get their heads cut off when it shouldn't be, sort of thing, you know.
We've kind of set that up somewhat in GHR at times. There will be sometimes a handful or so of hooks for the adventure that is based on the background and things in the background. In our Midgard campaign, we're actually tying some small rewards to it on our adventure records, depending on the hook that we're using. It usually ties into the background or something else, a region they're from or a race they're from or something.
I think those are great. I think it's great when you do that. It's just a small reminder. It keeps it, you know, it keeps it in the player's head.
Yeah, and they had like hero points or action points depending on what system you're in, and that's always a good way to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Inspiration for fifth edition.
Yep, inspiration. There you go. Yep.
Or hero points or whatever other system. I mean, you know, there's a lot of great systems that are homebrewed out there too to have that go either way. So that's really
I something called plot points.
yeah. So it's already 9:45. We could go all night, couldn't we, with this discussion?
yeah.
Isn't it fantastic? And I know I want everyone to get around the shout outs, which is going to take about 20 to 30 minutes is my guess. So why don't and if anything else interesting pops up here, I will. But I want everyone to really push what you're doing at Greyhawk Con in the shout outs, please, because we have the registered. We just got to get everyone involved in getting all these games filled. I really would love to see that, and thank you, audience too, for really participating in some great chat tonight too, and a lot of great questions. So. Wow, I'm really, I guess, blessed and honored to be here with you all, and congratulations to the whole community for really coming together. So I'm going to start right with Tim. Tim, what's going on, man? Look at that look.
The Pelu tribe is calling all of the barbarians together. Ooh.
Yes. Yes, it is, isn't it? It is. And so Tim has got his Saturday morning game, and it's going to be a blast. And you have 6 players in it, correct now?
There's 5.
6?
No, there's 5. There's 5. There's only 5.
Did you hear that, Anna?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm listening.
There's 5 players that you know of.
Who
So,
got killed before the game even started?
Yeah, so there's
No,
5.
they're bringing in a spy or something. There's
Exactly.
something going on.
Yeah.
There was a great game I played once called 5 out of 6 Ain't Bad. It was awesome. Awesome. Pre-generated characters. One of them was a bad guy. You had no idea which character it was. So much fun.
Cool.
The truth is, as I was developing the scenario, I thought one more just couldn't hurt. So.
Well, yes, and so Tim's is going to be fantastic. It's going to be right on this channel. I'm producing it. You're not going to see my mug, though. You may hear my voice once or twice or something. But Tim will be on, and we'll have his maps in Tim style, so everyone prepare to die horribly. So it will definitely be old school 1E style. Tim's a lot more 1E than I am, so you're gonna see a great game there, and it's always a pleasure having Tim on, and then we'll get back to running his city state on some Saturday nights after we get through this weekend, which is going to be monstrous. So, Tim, thanks for hopping on tonight. Dave,
I'm running Peace of Mind, which is one of our first Greyhawk Reborn adventures that we created. Looking forward to that. It's a classic that I love running, and looking forward to seeing everybody there. What else we got going on? Looking for some plugs. We have Save Against Fear, which is also a virtual convention. We'll be at the week after. You can find that on Tabletop Events under Save Against Fear. We will also be at MEPACon in Scranton, not in Scranton, but another virtual con. I want to say first weekend in November. Schedule is up on that, Jay, or will be up soon?
Yeah, it will be up shortly.
And I think that's also on Tabletop Events as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it will be on Tabletop
Yep.
Events. And
So-
Dave, a little reminder, I'm waiting on you to tell me what you're going to run from Epicon.
Yeah. It's on my to-do list.
Thank you for calling out Dave on the
Yep.
live stream. That's
Yeah,
great.
I deserve it. So we got those things going on. If any of you folks are interested, we're looking at this as a kind of a jumping off point. We do have Greyhawk Reborn and Midgard Chronicles, as we call it, is under our umbrella called War Duke Press. As we continue to run living campaigns and discuss where we're going from here and some additions and changes and such. We've been doing Greyhawk Reborn for 7 years. We have just created a Patreon. If anybody's out there listening, you can find it under Patreon, Greyhawk Reborn. We have some wonderful adventures there. They look great. John has been spearheading getting those out, and we plan on having a lot more information out there and a lot more adventures for you and items for you on there in the coming months. If you can help support us, please do. We'll also, as I mentioned, have we have an agreement with Kobold Press and Wolfgang to create some adventures for Midgard under Midgard Chronicles. First ones will be up soon. The second ones are being written now. So, a lot of plugs going on for a lot of things we're doing with War Duke Press. And looking forward to working with the Greyhawk community, which is wonderful out there. Want to get a little more connected with those folks and just do more to raise awareness for Greyhawk out there and get people playing in the what I consider the greatest game world ever created.
That's pretty cool. Congratulations on all that.
Thanks.
It is wonderful. It is wonderful that you are continuing with the content. I have one question for you. The Midgard, you're gonna have a completely separate campaign.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
No crossovers.
Not at this point. They're entirely different. Greyhawk, just so you folks know, Greyhawk Reborn we started in like I said, 7 years ago. We actually advanced the timeline 15 years from the end of Greyhawk. So when we started, we moved into Common Year 613. It came to a nice, easy date to remember. Now we are in 620. And so we have advanced the timeline beyond, first edition, Greyhawk Wars, and all of that stuff. We use Living Greyhawk as inspiration, but we will not let canon get in the way of a good story either.
Good to hear.
Yeah, as you guys might have guessed, it's hard for the three northeastern, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York folks to translate, for example, French Ekbeer modules. So, we don't necessarily know exactly what happened in Ekbeer and Living Greyhawk. So we just kind of roll forward as best as we can. If it's not published in English, it didn't happen as far as we can tell.
Greyhawk Reborn. So maybe some of you folks out there that are listening, our campaign or all of our adventures are run exclusively by their authors. That's how we avoid any issues with copyright infringement. So we've created, well over 400 adventures now, John and Jay, maybe approaching 500 in 7 years. We've run 3 or 4 interactives a year. We've been at well over 50 conventions at this point, including some big ones. And if anybody out there is interested in joining in, we happily always look at authors, looking for writers, looking for people to help out, looking for editors, looking for website help. Anything that people may have some interest in that want to contribute to the Greyhawk community. We plan on keeping this going. We plan on trying to keep it growing. The Patreon is a part of that. Becoming part of War Duke Press and forming this LLC over it is a part of that. We just want to keep the gaming community going. We started this because we loved the community that Living Greyhawk built. That's been mentioned many, many times in this conversation here today. It brought gamers together. It was good for the game. It was good for gamers. It was good for conventions. It was good for the entire gaming community. Brought people together to have tremendous amounts of fun. When Living Greyhawk dissipated in 2008 and fourth edition came out. The New Living campaign was different. It had lost its regional feel. There was no reason to go to conventions or bring gamers together anymore, other than home games. I think that community just kind of retreated into their basements. I got tired of not seeing people that I became great friends of mine, let alone just gamers. So we came up with this to come get away as a way to get gamers back together again, to get them meeting, to support conventions, to support game stores and whatever else we can. So we're really here to bring people together and bring the gaming community together as much as we can. That can only be good for gamers, businesses, publishers, and the gaming community themselves.
It's absolutely true. Most of my friends come from the LG days.
There, I'm off my soapbox.
Dave,
I'm done with my plug.
I say this every Living Greyhawk episode that we have, and my campaign at Greyhawk is in its 40th year, but I kind of regret not like even playing in a sidebar with you or with. Literally, a convention was 6 miles away from where I live, over in the Philadelphia, right at the airport. It's just insane. But I was entwined in my, and still am to this day, with my own group, my own friends, and all for that 38 years in the shadows. And it's one thing I do regret is I miss all the camaraderie and all the experiences of that. So, you guys have a great thing going. It's so awesome to see it continuing. So, yeah, definitely. Jay.
Just going to plug the 2 adventures I'm running for Virtual Greyhawk Con. Dave, I think, has pretty much said everything else.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
Quite all right. I don't need to reiterate everything Dave said. Fools Rush In, which is an adventure set in Keelan, which involves the Peacebeats going on a quest for the Baronish and Shellspring into the Rushmores. And Love and Monsters, which is a adventure I wrote this year with a buddy of mine named Ron Fry. Fools Rush In has 4 authors. I think Dave, John, myself, and Bill Gardino wrote Fools. But Love and Monsters is about you're kind of on a mission for the goddess of love, and they're both 1 to 4 adventures. We tried to mostly run 1 to 4 adventures for Virtual Greyhawk Con to get people kind of psyched about playing in GHR, and have introductory adventures for people, so people can see what we're doing at the lower levels.
Okay, right now, Tom Garlic has 1 seat open, and that is it.
Wow.
Every other event is filled. So Arafa Road, event number 35, Tom Garlic, 1 seat out of 15 events.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks.
Yeah,
Amazing.
pretty amazing. Definitely. Renee.
Yeah, Greyhawk Report is pretty cool. I think I ran into you, Dave, at DexCon, and I played it the first couple of times, and then I picked it up at Gen Con as well. Love it. For me, I'm doing 2 of my older Greyhawk modules. One of them set in Nyrond, Coronation Celebration, and the other one is my core, Rivalry and Treachery. And what I explained before, that it takes more of the organic, not really a call to adventure where you're hired out to do something, but a very slow burn at first, so the players get to feel themselves out, and then before they know it, they've already been sucked into what's happening, and then they can run the story from wherever they want to go. It's very open-ended for mine. It can go anywhere. I know it runs in 4 hours. It can't be fully sandboxed, but it's non-linear, and they can find what they want to do. The one thing I do, and I hope I don't jump in front of somebody else saying this, but if anybody out there is holding off on what they want to sign up for, just know that DMs put a lot of time and effort into preparing. And if they don't know if they're going to run, they don't know what they're going to do with their time. So it would be very well served if you are going to play, that for certain, make a commitment to whoever you want to jump in on some game, and that'll let the DM get excited that they have a table running, and they now have a focus on what they're going to do.
I think Renee deserves some love here, everyone. So yeah, please check them out. I think they sound fantastic, both adventures. I really think that love to see them both go off and run with full compliments. But check them out, please. Alrighty, Renee, thanks for coming on. I want to have you back for an Iron discussion too.
That'd be great.
Absolutely, in the near future.
Definitely.
Love to set that up. I don't think we have a Living Greyhawk set for October. So
No,
I think we'll have Casey. We'll have Casey Brown or Draco.
Oh,
set-
look at that.
Get
You
that
ever do a
set
cable
up.
link, give me a holler.
I can tell my story about that.
That is
Yes.
awesome. Yes, the shield, another shield. We find it. Casey's trying to do a shield database too now.
Yes, we're
trying to
tracking
find
down
all
one
of
by
them.
one here. So that's
Amy.
Okay, so I'm going to be, I'm running the same adventure twice. It's called The Fountain. The basic premise is that the players have been recruited by the Lord Mayor of Neildra, Pugant Stillip, because of a strange whistling noise that echoes through the city at all hours of the day and night, and he can't poor man can't get a good night's sleep. So he wants you to track down the source of this noise and find out what the problem is and deal with it. The Saturday session I originally had put up to run under Hero Rules, which is my love for gaming systems, but that really hasn't attracted any interest. There's been no signups for it. I would like to run it, so I will go ahead and run it under 5th edition rules, like the Friday game. So if you are a 5e person and you're looking for a game on Saturday, I'm going to run it under 5e and D&D 5e instead of Hero. I think people are just a little more comfortable with that.
Sounds great, and I think you need some loving too. There, you put in a lot of hard work, and we really appreciate it. And I'm linking them both. I'm linking both them in right now as we speak. So there we go. There is both events. Like I said, if you're on the fence about signing up for something, give it a shot, everyone. You may meet some new friends and have a great time. So I think thank you. For the contributions from the community, but check out some of these games. We're really, we're getting to capacity, but let's get almost to 100% of signups for RPGs. So, Amy, thanks a lot, and hey, I'll see you playing in my game now Saturday morning. Yeah, get to play some old school 1E 2E with someone gets to play a barbarian cleric, gets to play Tim's character actually in that campaign. So Tim actually has a barbarian cleric that is in the campaign, and I'm going to open that up.
Cool.
Yeah, he is cool. He is cool. Absolutely. Anna, you got a lot going on.
Yeah, but I've said it so many times. I think everybody is bored even before that happens. So, but some updates on the Atlas. Everything is done except the appendixes. The extras. So there will be so there are now 50 maps. There are legend and the front cover page, the credit page. They are put in some. There's an overview map, a political map, and 50 area maps, and an index with all the names and stuff from all the map. And it's so it's roughly, I think it's about 100 pages of content you can print, 11 by 17. And it's also available on JPEG, so the whole spread is on one JPEG, so to speak. So you can use it on your iPad or your computer and stuff. So there will be some compilation PDFs so you can have one PDF with all the pages. I haven't done that yet, but all the pieces are there, so to speak, except the appendixes will be, the first one will be heraldry. I will make one with all the heraldry spread out over, like all the heraldry of one kingdom, like Keoland, and you have provinces and all that stuff. So that will come. There will be module locations coming, but I don't have the time to do that before the virtual Greyhawk. But all the major atlas is done, so to speak, and that's taken some months to do. And again, I have just a huge shout out to Dwayne Costa for helping me with the index. That was a huge job to sit and read every name of the map and then put the hexadecimal place and put that in Excel spreadsheet, and then created some macros to eliminate all the the extras, and there were a couple of things that were mismatched things and spelling, and we found some errors and stuff in there, and then also create some extras. You can find things under the, and you can find it under province, and then you can find it under the name of the province. So there are some things that are mentioned twice, and there's some things that are mentioned 3 times, and there might even be one that is mentioned 4 times. I'm not sure, but so we added that. So because new beginners who doesn't know this, they might simply go by the first letter, whatever that happens to be in some. So we try to accommodate for all the weird ways people can approach this. So the atlas is mainly for beginners, people that want to get into Greyhawk. They don't know where things are located and stuff like that. You want an easy reference. We talk about it here or mention somewhere, and where is that? And then you can find it, so to speak. So that was the main thing, and it took way longer than I thought, and it was a huge thing. But the good thing is the index is one of the huge benefits of this. Now we have an index, and there is an Excel spreadsheet in the Atlas Dropbox share too.
Awesome.
So you have an Excel spreadsheet and that's the Excel spread without any extras, so to speak. So things are just mentioned once, and I think there's like 4,000 something names at least on there.
Safe to say we'll use that more than we would use this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the way for
one of those in my car.
Yep. So that's a huge thing, so to speak. So and to me, it's kind of an interesting, almost farewell project, because I think it's the last major project that I will use the old, now over 20-year-old Greyhawk map. It's time to start retiring it and think for the future. So this is kind of one major work when I'm staring at the damn thing that I started working on 20 years ago, and I did a major revision of it and upgraded the terrain graphics and stuff. What is like 3 years ago, but I still feel like I'm stared at this way too long now. So the good thing is that there is a world after this map too, and I've been planning for that for 10 years, and for the last 5-6 years I've worked on what tools to use, and Midgard was an awesome stepgap, because Midgard is a project that I've been, for Cobalt Press, been working on using way more modern tools, because you have to realize the Greyhawk map that we see is a product of, it's a standard that I set using a Pentium computer back in 1996, using the tools when my hard drive had like 10% of the memory that one of my graphics cards have now, or like 1%, meaning it was ridiculous. Anyone who's young and listen to this, you don't realize that back then you had like a, what was it, 75 megahertz CPU, and the hard drive was 175 megabytes, and I had to burn the different files on a CD and put them aside, because it wasn't, it was back in the day. It
was good back then.
Yeah. that's how the Atlas actually got started, and I set the standard was possible, and then I had to kind of stick with that standard and style and what's possible, and now the limitations are they're so vast, and I still love it. It's a great product that I've done, worked with a lot of love into it, and it still functions. It's still great. People still like it, and I still like it, but I want to create something better. So now I'm working on the 2nd generation maps, and now the problem is that now we're in between 1-2 generations of all the tools that I want to use. So I'm working with tools that are, instead of 25 years old, they're only like 5 or 7 years old. So they're way, way, way better. But they still don't have all the stuff on there, but they're good enough with some, so we can kind of hunker forth a little bit and do stuff. So the first test case was supposed to be Landor Isles, and I did that. I wasn't super happy with it because they had some flaws and stuff. So now I realized I need to test the technology for a larger area. So I'm working on it for my upcoming Shieldlands campaign. And there will be some first kind of almost done screenshot of some of the areas. And what is possible now is breathtaking compared to the 20-year-olds. So I'm looking forward to. I'm working really hard to have some cool screenshots and stuff. And you've seen some of my seminars and stuff before, but this will be actual location shots from Greyhawk, not some concept somewhere. And I'm working on the southern part of Shieldlands, and then areas going up towards the big volcano we were talking about, the White Plume Mountain. So there will be some some concept arts of that area and some stuff that, if they are good enough, then they will be incorporated into future versions of Greyhawk maps. If they're not good enough, I realize I have to come back to them. Just like there were some areas that I screwed up so badly on the first map that never made it, and I just redid them again, so to speak. But some of this is probably so good that it will go into the next generation of Greyhawk maps. And I will talk a little bit about, I talked a lot about the technology on previous seminars. I'm not, my upcoming seminar next Friday is not going to be map technology centered at all. It will be my version of Greyhawk, and I will show some of the maps and some of the stuff. So it will be setting and story oriented and not so much technology. I can have another seminar or something to people that love to do maps and stuff, and we can talk about all the cool technology coming up, because there is a bunch of awesome stuff coming up technology wise too. But I think this is more fun to talk about my Greyhawk campaign. So I want to talk about things like D&D physics. Do you have an idea when you run your Greyhawk game? How do magic actually works? And how do the planes work? And how did things start from the get-go? That's something I've been thinking about. So stuff like that. And why are elves called high elves? And then we have, who are the horned ones? And there's some other cool stuff that I've kind of come up with for my Greyhawk campaign. So I'm going to go out on a whole bunch of tangents and stuff on my seminar. So yeah.
With my D&D physics thing, I always get into arguments that no, your 50 foot of hemp rope tied to your arrow is not going to go into a brick wall and take you guys across. Not going to work.
Yeah. So, but what happens with ghosts and what is ethereal and stuff like that? And I realized that I needed to kind of figure things out. So I did things backwards, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
What we need to do is create a wizardly college that investigates those type of things.
Yep.
We need to create one of those in Greyhawk Reborn. And then we can
Hey,
have the
Greyhawk.
magical mages figure out
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
The Theoretical Mages Society.
Yeah, and why do mages that study magic to a certain level tend to go insane? That's yeah, meaning there's a lot of these kind of interesting questions.
Vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah. Yep.
Word of Canaan's curse.
Yep.
Love it.
But
Since
those
I
are the some of the I want to go off on some tangents and stuff on my seminar that I haven't done before. I just mentioned a little bit tidbits here. I want to take a chance and just run with it for a couple hours.
We are not. I don't know how we're going to fit it into 2 hours.
Well, we have to do a part 2 or something. We'll see. Yeah.
I think we're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
And
Start thinking of this as chapter 1.
Yeah, chapter 1.
It's
yeah.
going to be rough.
And that will my campaign map, my version of the map that has been very greatly upgraded and changed and stuff. I'm going to publish it, so everyone will have the chance to get it before the seminar, so they can sit and watch it and kind of stare at it. Yeah.
If you sign up, highlighted
If you
streams.
sign up, you can get it on Wednesday.
Yes.
So you have it several days. Otherwise, I will publish the link on my website and on Facebook in my Flanders Geographical Society group the same day on Friday. So you have it a few hours, but if you sign up to the event on Tabletop, then you will get the link on Wednesday, just after we had Legends and Lore. So then you have some.
Let me link that. So right now it's the second most signed up for event behind the Greyhawk All-Star game with Luke and Eric.
So I'm trying to push it.
She's trying to push it.
Yeah.
She's trying to push it into number 1 here. So it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely great idea. I'm going to link that in here. There's the Greyhawk campaign of Anna B. Meyer. Yes, to get those maps early, right after Legends and Lore, I think that'd be awesome for everyone. So I'm linking that in right now as we speak.
And I'm a political buff, so
There you go.
expect like a current political affairs report on Greyhawk. That will be one of the things, so to speak. So,
Well, then you'll never fit it in 2 hours.
no, I know that. Yeah. Yeah.
We're because we're going to, and then I'm going to split my audience to be fair when that comes off. I'm going to raid into, I'll flip a coin because I got Will and Carlos on. One we're going to raid into, the other half we're going to host. So we're going to split that audience right down the middle, and we have make sure they each get 100 each. Is that what we're going to say, Anna? Hopefully we'll have an audience of like 200.
something like
I
that.
hope
Yeah.
so. I hope so for that. I think
it will be crowded.
I think everyone's going to have a record crowds. I really do. I think it's going to be
Yeah, I hope so.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing to the 6 who are in the game now. You do not have to sign up for it, but you can. It's now already been converted to highlighted stream. I have all your names down. You're all in. But sign up for it if you want to. So it looks, there's more people in there, but you don't have to go in and sign up for that game. You're in. All right, you're all as long as you're in TT. That's all I was worried about. I have everyone's names, so I'll be getting in contact with all of you regarding getting you the characters and stuff. So there you go. Thanks, Anna. Thanks for that as well. I mean, this is gonna be an exciting week.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, but it's gonna be a real blast and a great night there too. So, John, what do you got to say?
Man, it's hard to follow Anna.
Oh,
No, it's fine. So I'm only running 2 games this week at Greyhawk Online Con. So one of them is the Monster, which is my Greyhawk by Night Season 2 premiere. So the first, 17 modules or something I wrote for Greyhawk Reborn were basically a one very, very long story arc that brings you from level 1 to level 15 and is all horror themed stories, taking inspiration from horror movies. So season 2, I tried to do more episodic adventures, less tied together. So the Monster is, it's a fresh start. It's an adventure that has more to do with moral decision making by the players, and that kind of goes back to some of the conversations we were having before. I try not to punish people with monsters. I try to punish them with making bad choices. So that way, it doesn't matter if you're a power game character or not, right? The thing that matters is, were you paying attention? Are you role playing? And if you're doing those things, then things turn out well for you in my adventures. And if you have sort of checked out and weren't listening to the details, really bad things happen to you. That's a fairly common theme. So I think it's an introductory adventure. It is indeed set in the Empire of Ayu, so it definitely starts darker than most other adventures.
Nice.
But it's a pretty simple one shot. And the other one I'm running is the Incident at Fortress Ravenar, which is not one of the more evil themed adventures. It's just sort of a pet project of Bill Gordino and myself to take the Ravenar region and update it for 5th edition. So it's the first of a bunch of adventures that were set in Ravenar. And it sort of introduces the players to what has changed there since Living Greyhawk ended. It's a very different kind of adventure. I don't think I've ever run or written anything like the Incident at Fortress Ravenar before. So I think it's a fun way to get exposed to some of the different things that we're doing in 5th edition Greyhawk. I'll also just pitch our Patreon again, since and again, this is embarrassing after going after Anna. So a lot of, as was mentioned, we already have like 500 adventures, but a lot of those are basically napkins with marker on them. And I am pretty much the only editor to get those things ready for publication. So although we had a goal of getting 2 adventures up there a month, that worked until COVID hit, and then it totally failed, and it's mostly on my shoulders. So hopefully both the Monster is already there. So if people enjoy it after playing it and want to download it, it's free. And Incident at Fortress Ravenar will be there by the end of the convention. So if people play it or watch it and they want to download it, once again, it'll be there for free. And then hopefully we will get back into the swing of things. And by we, mostly I mean me, of editing some of these adventures and getting them up on the Patreon for free. But you can also go there and just download our player's guide, which has all of, how is Greyhawk Reborn different than Adventurers League. And then we have, I don't know, like a 70-page document of expanded 5th edition options for players. So all the different human sub races, playable lizard folk races, a wide variety of new class options, backgrounds, some extra weapons. And then, you know, as each year we update that and add new things to it. So if you're looking for more 5th edition crunchy content, you can find that all on our Patreon for free as well.
Thank you so very much, and to all three Greyhawk Reborn gentlemen. Really a pleasure tonight. I'm, you know, can't wait to continue, you know, getting those bridges connected and keeping the community growing through all different aspects of Greyhawk. And there's a lot of different ways to play Greyhawk out there, and it's great you guys are continuing to move forward. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Will, lastly.
Oh, hello. Let's see. As far as the virtual Greyhawk Con on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be judging the. I've taken Line and Ropes, a Troll Lord game adventure, and I'm converting that over to Greyhawk. It's going to be happening just outside of Divers, is where I've decided to place it, and it's kind of a murder mystery. Is probably that's the best way. At least that's the way I'm going to run it. So,
Chuck just said woohoo to you from Troll
woo!
Lord.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chuck. And then the other game I'm doing, which is full, is I'm running the a Horror Resurgent, which is the game. Hopefully, nobody who's playing it actually got it when I put it up for free. So, and then let's see. As far as me, I've got my Greyhawk Adventure stream, which is currently on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's at the Wicked Studios LLC Twitch channel. And I've been very busy with all my writing and putting up new content for the my blog, the Greyhawk Companion. Recently, I'm working on Rook Roost. I just had part 10 of the Rook Roost information come out, which is only about halfway through everything I had already written up. This is all a bunch of stuff I wrote back for my Bandit Kingdoms campaign. So I'm taking it, I'm redoing it, and I'm putting it out. It's all the information I wrote up for Rook Roost for that campaign. And I've got about 4 more of the Warlock, Hero Deity Warlock patrons to do, and then I'll be done with that, and I'll be moving on to something else of some sort. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do next as far as after those guys.
Hey, this next weekend, Will, I'm a blank after this week coming up. I don't know when nothing's scheduled, well, except for Autumn Revel, one event. So
right.
All right, let me go through this as quickly as possible here. You know, I always say that, and it takes freaking forever, right? So Wednesday, I forgot, and we're going to go over virtual Greyhawk Con events, and I completely forgot. We have something even better, thanks to Casey. We have Living Greyhawk, Perrinland, and Rotic at 8 p.m. on Wednesday night. Okay, so thank you, Casey, for doing all that coordination. So we are. I'm looking forward to this discussion. Get another LG. Casey once again is logging them all in. We've had a fair amount of locations. I think we'll hit Nyron up in October, and Casey will be in touch with you, Renee, to make that happen. We'll get that all coordinated for Wednesday night. I know it's really late for you, but we'll try and figure out something. So Thursday night. This is this is going to sound weird, but second week of the Prelude adventure that goes into Virtual Greyhawk Con for my adventure with Luke and the crew. It's called The Searchers. They found, and thank you, Mike Bridges, for helping me out with this, an ex-apprentice of Alhamazad the Wise was corrupted, and all searching through things with the nasty Abby Dalsum that he shouldn't have, and now this guy with his crew of undesirables is somewhere in the Cairn Hills or in the Aberrals searching for an item of power artifact in my campaign, and there's groups all over trying to find this person, and this adventuring party may have located this individual, and we will finish that up, and that'll kind of be like the prelude story that goes into the Saturday night event. So that is Thursday. Always Reaper Miniatures giveaway that night as well. So and that'll be Thursday, October 1st. And then that's the last one before Virtual Greyhawk Con. Ton of events. I'm going to run through these real quick that I have there's others that are highlighted, but here we go. So start off, Mike Disney, Friday morning, 9 a.m. He's painting a miniature in my campaign, the evil priestess from the Dark Brotherhood, Holly. So it's an organization that's been in my campaign for 40 years, and finally going to get a character for this individual painted up, and he does a great job. That is 9 to 11. Blue Box is running, and then you have dragons in the dining room, and then you have Blue Box running 1 to 5. Then you have Trollord Games, Stephen Chenault going, and then after that's Anna's campaign. And then after that, you have Carlos and Will. I mean, we got a stacked Friday, amazingly stacked Friday, all these highlighted streams. Saturday morning kicks off, and there's Will's, which he talked about. So that's going to be super exciting. Going to be a fantastic first night. Then Tim is DMing Saturday morning. I mean, my gosh, I cannot wait to just sit back and just put my feet up and laugh at all you people dying when he's DMing. Nightheart Gaming has this reimagined Expedition to Barrier Peaks in 5e that they're doing from 3 to 7 on Saturday, and that's going to be a fantastic game. That's once again a highlighted stream. And then I have my All-Stars game with Luke and Eric and Anna and Gary Julian and Stephen Chenault and Chuck Cumbo from Troller Games, and we have the actual Son of Melf playing in this by Luke Gygax. So there you go. Have some fun characters. Special Priest of Saint Benedor is going to be there. It's going to be a blast. A really exciting game. So I don't have to traipse my equipment all the way upstairs. I'm just going to leave it downstairs, and then and I'll explain that in a second. And then Rise Up Against the Slave Lords is Jimmy Duffy's game. Friday, that Saturday night we'll be raiding into. That's the brand new Slave Lord series. I think it's an all-female cast too. It'll be pretty interesting. Can't wait for that. Sunday morning, this is the game that everyone signed up for. I have the full group plus the other person who had signed up previously. So welcome to the Narwhal Headhunters, and this is going to be second level, and it's going to be characters right out of our campaign. And it may be a big type of hack and slash, but who cares? It'll be a fun one, and it'll be 4 hours from 11 to 3. From that, we go to Blue Box. Again, Greyhawk Awakening 3 to 7. Wily Hobbit's in there with an adventure from 4 to 8. And as well, and then the final event highlighted, Greyhawk Ask the Experts, Leonard Lakofka, Gary Julian, Alan Grohe, David Leonard, and Malden, Dennis Tetro are all going to you get to ask questions and they're going to answer them for you. So it'll be a blast. So there you go. Wow. And then I get to relax for about a day. And then we'll start other stuff. So,
no rest for the wicked.
No, I have. So I have 7 starting Wednesday. I have 7 streams in 5 days. Okay, not a big deal. We'll get through it. Thank you, Bishop. Everyone's super stoked. Remember to watch these streams. You don't really have to sign up on TTE, but it's good that it goes on your schedule. Going in, and we have a little bit of a contest going, as well. I know John from Blue Box has really been. Bishop, thank you. John from Blue Box has really been pushing his games, but sign up for him if you plan on watching them even for a certain amount of time. That way to go on your schedule so you don't have conflicts. Please do that, and also get in those RPG games. There's still a lot of open games. Please get in them, have fun, and try them out. We got some great DMs. I love to see all the events like 99% filled. So, did I miss anything, Anna? Did I miss anything, Will? Did I miss anything, Tim?
I'm participating.
Sounds like you hit it to me.
I'm participating in your Saturday night event.
Oh my God, I forgot. And he may dress up too. So Tim is playing the evil Nazim bin Khalifa, the ex-apprentice of Alhamazad the Wise that night.
Wow.
He's going to be my assistant. So I will say this. one of my most hated modules of all time, I am reimagining here, and that is one that has it looks like a windmill that's supposed to spin. There's no frickin' Darrow. There's no Darrow in that damn thing. Okay, it's not going to Greyhawk City, but the Doom Grinder will be found spinning for a certain reason.
That's RPG therapy for Jay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That and I'll say it. That and Thrommel Vampire.
I was just going to say, when do we see?
You never know. You're never going to see a Thrommel.
Thrommel game.
Yeah.
My gosh. I have three pet peeves in my world now. I have Thrommel Vampire, Robert Wardall, and the Doom Grinder. So yes.
You have to deal with all
of them all at once. So thank you. Look at that, and we only went a whole hour late tonight. That's great. So, anyone else have anything? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Oh, thank you,
Have a
Jay.
great night.
Thank you, everyone.
you.
for coming.
I do have one nerdy thing to say.
Go for it.
And I came across your stream when I was watching, I think, Critical Role, and it was suggested ones, and I saw yours there, and I hit that. Let me see what Greyhawk is great. Let me see what it's about. So the nerdy thing is, after watching your streams, I'm reminded of the movie Excalibur when Sir Gawain comes and gives the Holy Grail and gives it to Arthur, and then Arthur takes it and says, "I did not know how empty was my soul until it was filled." I did not know how much I missed Greyhawk until I saw that stream, and then now I'm watching them.
Boy, that's a good thing that you switched from Critical Role to me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That is awesome. And Thursday nights are our night. It's been that way for 20 years. We always have played on Thursday nights. And hey, I'm usually like 2 or 3 up there, and it's great. Critical Role is fantastic for today's generation of players. That's great. But we play an old school style, and Renee, thank you for that very nice compliment. I really appreciate that. And I want to keep it going. And we all want to keep it going. We all of the streamers, and Anna and I, when we first met together, like 18 months to 2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's Will and me and a Greyhawk channel that's going away, right, at that point. Right? Well, that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was it. And now we have Nightheart participates, Prayers Rejects, Blue Box, Gallagher, Dragons. We got a whole new crew of a new generation, and it's just expanding. And hopefully, I've already set it for first weekend in 2021, October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd to do this again. So we're set. I already got in TTE for 2021. We're going to do it again next year too. So, okay. Well, I dip your toe in the. Yeah, Frank, you do, but you do it so eloquently when you dip your toe in. So. You do, and thank you for the gift subs.
He's just an elegant guy.
Yeah, he is. He is absolutely. So we're gonna raid into Carlos right now, and I'm gonna hit that button and wait till this is up here. See you all Wednesday night for a very great Legends and Lore, and then we'll talk some more then. And stick around for the raid into Carlos. Say hello over there and give him a follow, please. See you. All right, let me do that raid real quick. Let me set this up.
I got to run, Jay.
Will, thanks, man.
Thanks, everybody. It's nice meeting everyone. Or nice seeing you again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Hit the right button, Jay. Raid. Oh my God. CASL.
So speaking of raid, there's going to be a raid.
Yes.
Good seeing you folks. I got to take off.
Dave, thank you so very much.
Any way we can help out with Greyhawk Reborn, and you let us know.
We're going to be in touch. Absolutely. Thank you.
Great.
55.
See you next week.
Okay. See you next week. 55 viewers. Great. Here we go. Raiding in now. 56. That's awesome.
Yeah, Renee, I'm impressed with the time in London now. It must be, it's like
It's 3:30 and I'm getting loopy with the way I'm speaking.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can see that my sentences aren't formed very well.
You still pulled off your awesome Excalibur cinematic record.
Yeah, that
Nah.
was fantastic. Thank you. And it was awesome,
It was
dude.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way I thought of it when I listened to the first time. Oh my gosh, I forget what the subject was, but it was Eric Mona's name he was coming up, and so I texted him and said, "Hey, they're saying great things about you," and that's when he dropped into Jay's.
Yeah,